Axar Patel, well, what a start to his career. 18 wickets at under 10. Here is Patel, bowled him, he's through. Dom Sibley's on his way. Crawley uses his feet once again. He's heaved this one straight down towards mid-off and straight into the hands of Mohammad Siraj.
Yeah, there's positive intent and there's also recklessness, and I think that is the latter.
Mohammad Siraj, finally we start again after a long drinks break. That's horribly close and that's out. Absolutely stone dead LBW. Joe Root trapped back.
Ashwin down the wicket comes Stokes, and that's how to go downtown. And he's gone all the way for 6 over long off.
Ishant Sharma to start in the over, short wide, and Bairstow thumps it off the back foot through cover for 4.
So England will resume the second session of the first day of the fourth test match on 74 for 3, with Johnny Bairstow on 28 and Ben Stokes on 24. It looks to be a good pitch. I say good pitch. What do you mean by that? There's, well, bats not have been able to score runs. There's been something in it for the seamers. There's been some bounce and some pace, and not excessive turn. And it's all held together, and it's all caught us a little bit by surprise. Not as much of a surprise as the fact that we've been eating curry at 6:30 in the morning. But Gareth Batty and Darren Gough are with me. First of all, the curry is courtesy of Just Eat UK, so many thanks to them. What have you made of the first session? 74 for 3. Do India take it?
I think so, yeah. But saying that, I think England would have gone into it to get to lunch. They would have said 2 down, but 3. But they've got 2 guys in now, haven't they? Ben Stokes and Johnny Bairstow. They've looked good at the crease together. But I'm with you. I think it's been an excellent pitch. I think there's been a bit in it for the new ball, as you'd expect on the first morning of a test match. Even though you win the toss and bat, there's been a bit there for the seamers. Ishant Sharma, mainly into the right-hander. You had Siraj. You had loads of energy going in through the crease, trying to make it go away from the right-hander. And then you've got a man who's full of confidence, the 2 spinners, Patel and Ashwin. And obviously Patel's come to the party as well, so I think it's been an excellent morning, Manners. Excellent.
Gareth Paddy, would you expect a total of around, well, I'm not going to ask you what total you expect. I mean, England are playing the extra batsmen, so they certainly would, they won't be thinking about a total now, but we can speculate. 300?
Yeah, plus.
More.
I think you go back to the old try and get 400 and plenty, and then, you know, sort of put them under scoreboard pressure. It looks like that sort of a surface. There is a little bit of assistance for the bowlers, but I really do feel like India were magnificent with the ball that first session. The seamers bowled immaculate lines and lengths, and the spinner came on and probably got their rewards, which the seamers probably should have got the way they bowled in that first sort of hour.
Ashwin, Ravichandran Ashwin to bowl the first over after the lunch break. It's outside the off stump, and it's left alone by Ben Stokes.
I think this is where it's a good move here from India, because with Ashwin to Stokes, especially when he first starting off, again after a break.
Forward comes Stokes again, pushing up towards mid-off, no run.
He's at his most vulnerable, isn't he? So it's a good decision here from Virat Kohli, the Indian captain. Bring on his most experienced spin bowler. Ashwin to Stokes.
Off spinner to left-hander, and Stokes goes into his crease and plays this behind the popping crease, no run.
The flip side of that is massaging his ego. Axar's sort of got more wickets than him in the series so far, and it's just saying, you're still my number 1, keep going here, pal.
Here is Ashwin once more, pitches it up and entices the drive from Stokes, which he obliges, driving it to Axar Patel on the cover boundary. They go through for 1. Do you think Ashwin needs that? I mean, he knows how good he is. Oh, really?
100%.
Okay. I wasn't expecting you to say that.
No doubt in my mind.
Even with 400 test wickets to his name.
Yes, exactly.
Telling you now, 100%.
It's not like he's got 20 test wickets and he's going up against Brian Lara and Sachin Tendulkar in the poll.
He wants to be the best, and if he's not seen as the best, he's disappointed.
Okay. England are 75 for 3, and it is Ashwin bowling the first over after lunch, and he's now going to bowl to Johnny Bairstow. Bairstow looking good now. Oh, into his delivery stride, doesn't let go of the ball. I mean, right into his delivery stride, not into the gather. He almost actually went through with the delivery, just didn't let go of the ball, and now looks down at the crease as if something down there troubled him, upset him. He's gone back to the top of his run-up, and he's in once again. He'll try once more. That's down the leg side. Nicely taken by Rishabh Pant. Turn and bounce there, but he got the line wrong, and it was an easy one to leave. Tell you what, England have got some depth in their batting now, with not just the fact that they're playing Dan Lawrence at batting at number 7, but then Ben Foakes, who's been one of the better players of spin, at 8, and Don Bess at 9. Bairstow now pushes this one from Ashwin straight back to the bowler all the way along the ground, and the first over after lunch comes to an end with Ben Stokes moving on to 25, Johnny Bairstow 28. England 75 for 3.
But what it shows is, but they have got that, still got that uncertainty. When they haven't got I know we said we were going to stop doing this, but a batsman who can keep wicket. We haven't got that security of Jos Buttler coming in where he does, and the amount of runs we hope he's going to score. I think that's always going to carry on to be the worry with England. And even with Ben Foakes, who's come in and done really, really well, there's that doubt in the minds of the selectors and the captain, isn't there?
Yeah, I think in this series you would say that Ben Foakes has played as well as anybody because he's been able to bat a lot of time. So for me, you try and get him further up the order to get with more the top order. And the other guys who haven't spent as much time at the crease, you're probably suggesting they don't trust their defence the same. So for me, it's about time out in the middle and give yourself a chance. And then I would potentially be going slightly different with the batting order, is what I'm saying.
Well, I'm not going to let you get away with that. You're going to have to expand on that. As Mohammad Siraj comes in for the second over after lunch. Bowled really well in the morning session. Stokes pushes defensively to mid-off, no run.
Particularly now with England batting first, I would be suggesting that get Foakes in at 6 and let the two younger lads bat at 7 and 8. And it's literally because Foakes has batted a lot of time, so you feel like he can bat time with the batsman that's in, and then let the other lads have a little bit more pressure on.
And because he's a keeper as well, he probably sees the variation from the spinner's arm, don't they, and hand position and everything else. So it might benefit as well if he's going to play. But I think it's all helped England winning the toss. If we wouldn't have now, I think we'd have been discussing with a seamer short.
Here is Siraj once again, full and wide outside the off stump, left alone by Stokes. Specialist batsman at 7 and 8, Pope and Lawrence. You would go that way.
Foakes is a specialist batsman as well.
Well, yes. Okay.
Just because the selectors don't trust him, that's not his fault. His numbers stack up. If we're going purely on numbers, and I'm shooting in the dark here, I think his numbers will be better than Buttler for just out and out averages. This last couple of games might just have brought him down, but he would have been in the 40s averaging in Test cricket.
Here is Siraj once again, and Stokes plays defensively to delivery on the line of leg stump. Well, that's definitely ballpark. Yeah, I can confirm that.
Yeah, you were averaging 40, I think, before the last test.
Well, then,
yeah, so
you're saying he's a batter, aren't you? You average 40 in Test cricket. You're some player, aren't you?
Yeah,
Fairly small sample size.
Yeah, it's hard to judge, isn't it? After what? How many tests he played? 4 or 5? Difficult, but I'm with you, mate. I think he's a fantastic player, and if you're going to pick him, you're going to back him.
Jos Buttler's current average in Test cricket is 34. That's punched away by Stokes off the back foot, but beautifully timed. I mean, it looked like a defensive shot, to be honest. Pujara is chasing, and he's managing to keep him down to 2. Before this Test match, Ben Foakes averaged 36.9, so almost 3 runs higher than Jos Buttler. It's a smaller sample size, but yeah.
So my point is, we can't pick and choose when we use the stats. You're actually saying is a more accomplished batter right now on stats than the guy that is at home. And that isn't me saying I'd pick him over him or any of this business. I'm just saying we can't pick and choose when we use our stats. The stats are there.
I think what you're saying is stop calling him a keeper who bats.
Yeah, I think give the chap a bit of credit.
Point made, absolutely.
But soon as we start losing, though, it goes back to can we afford a keeper that bats or a batsman that keeps? And I agree with you, and it will always carry on.
Siraj in again to Stokes, plays defensively, no run, 77 for 3.
And again, as long as the selectors are consistent in what they're saying to players, then it's fine. We don't need to know that inner sanctum, which I think England have been brilliant at, keeping things within. But yeah, I think it's a dangerous place when a guy has performed with a certain discipline and then you discount it because the perception of somebody else is better.
Here is Siraj once more, and he's got that 2 straight, and Ben Stokes helps it on its way off his pads out towards Akshar Patel at deep square leg, and they go through for another single. Stokes moves on to 28. Johnny Bairstow also has 28. England are rebuilding here and doing so very effectively. From 30 for 3, they're now 78 for 3, and Bairstow and Stokes largely, you have to say, untroubled by both seam and spin at the moment. So how often have you had curry at 6:30 in the morning before today?
A couple of times. I don't really remember it very well though.
I think
I might have had a few kebabs at 6 o'clock in the morning.
I was
in
just
Port Manus.
I think Mark Nicholas is suggesting that it may have been done so, but it was at the end of the day rather than at the beginning of the day, if you know what I mean. That's Ben Stokes forward to this one from Ashwin, pushing it out towards mid-off. I have to concur that if I have had curry at 6:30 before, it would have been at the end of a very lengthy day rather than at the beginning of one.
It is a strange time to have it, but I said never say no.
Delicious as well, absolutely delicious. Here's Ashwin once again, and punched off the back foot by Ben Stokes up towards mid-on. There's no run. The 2 Ginger Warriors at the crease together, Johnny Bairstow and Ben Stokes, and they certainly look like they're up for a fight, metaphorically, a cricketing one. Pushed away by Stokes again behind square on the offside. Although Steve Harmison said at the end of the first session that Ben Stokes had picked a fight. He got into a squabble, didn't he? And I don't know whether he was the architect of it or not, but Steve Harmison was suggesting that he needs, or maybe not needs, but certainly benefits from a bit of niggle, a bit of verbal.
Some players thrive on it and some players don't like it. It affects how they play. I would suggest that Ben is one that actually thrives on it. He likes the competition, he likes the fronting up nature of it.
Here's Ashwin once again to Ben Stokes. There's a slip and a man on the drive at cover. Forward he comes, playing defensively. There was an Ashes series, wasn't there, in which Steve Waugh was absolutely isolated by the England team. I can't remember which Ashes series it was, but here is Ashwin again. Forward comes Stokes again, playing defensively. But Steve Waugh was one who would always pick a fight, and he'd always want to get into a sledging situation with the bowler. Was that maybe you played in that series?
Yeah, I had plenty with him.
But there was one series where there was a policy not to say a word. Here's Stokes forward again. Appeal for leg before wicket. Not out. Not even interested. Wasn't Virendra Sharma there. And once again we see R. Ashwin is absolutely convinced he wants the review. And I don't think Virat Kohli's going to agree to it this time. Oh, he has once again with 2 seconds to go. But half a dozen times in this series, Ashwin has implored Virat Kohli to go for the DRS, and not one of them has been overturned. This LBW has been given not out as well, as we welcome our listeners on TalkSport. This is potentially a critical moment. Our feeling is that Ben Stokes has struck outside the line of off stump if ball hasn't hit the bat. But Ashwin is convinced. England are 78 for 3. What do you think, Darren Gough?
Well, I just think with the whole situation with these reviews in India, there's no real clarity on what they're doing. It's almost like no one's there to make the decision, and Virat Kohli, with 1 second to go, every single time goes to the review. It's just a weird situation.
Impact is outside.
Well, there you go.
Go to on-field umpire.
Impact outside the line of off stump.
You're on the
As
screen,
you'd
stay
expect,
with your
and
ball.
there's been no organisation between Virat Kohli. He's shaking his head now because Ashwin has convinced him that was out. Nah, it didn't look out.
You got to take Ashwin out of the equation here. The keeper has the best view of that. If he can't work out where and it's pitched a good inch or so outside off stump, The keeper should be saying, no, lads, I've seen this all the way. It's pitched here. He should almost be able to point the mark on the pitch where the ball's bounced. He should be overruling that and saying, no, captain, don't review.
By my count, and I may have missed one, I certainly haven't added any in, but Ashwin has now burnt 6 reviews in this series.
Well, can we blame Ashwin or is it Kohli? I think Kohli's burnt them. I mean, he's gone every single time. He's gambling. Like I said, there's no real conviction in that decision. He's gambling every single time, and we can see the clock going down. A second to go, and it's like, oh, I've got to do it just in case I messed up.
Surely
but he keeps messing up on the
surely
reviews.
at some point Ashwin's got to realise that maybe he's being a little too optimistic. Here is Mohammad Siraj continuing to Johnny Bairstow. Up goes the finger. He's hit him on the pad, on the back pad. He's been beaten for pace. He was on the back foot. Johnny Bairstow is now asking Ben Stokes whether he can review it or not. Stokes doesn't look particularly convinced that but he is reviewing it. Johnny Bairstow's asked for the review.
TV umpire to
But my
director.
goodness me, it was right on the back foot.
Fair delivery.
Looked like it hit him in front. Height might save him.
Yeah, definitely in line, but height looks. I think you're right, man. As height looks in question, doesn't it, Goffey?
Yeah, same again. I think it's on the knee roll. It's on the back leg. It's just clipped his leg. It's just clipped.
It's hit him
remember,
well above the knee roll.
You've got to remember though, he's right back in the crease, and the umpire's giving him out.
So just clipping is fine.
Keep rolling.
But height was always the concern. But yeah, I mean it's hit him well above the knee roll on the back
No
leg.
bat involved.
I think this is going over.
Ball tracking, please.
I think it's going over. I could well be wrong. It's 78 for 3.
Stand by.
Here we go. Ball tracking. This will tell us.
Pitching outside.
Hit him in line.
Hitting in line.
Just hitting the top of middle. Just
Last call.
clipping the top of middle. The umpire gets a decision right. Johnny Bairstow beaten for pace. Excellent bowling from Mohammad Siraj. Bairstow shakes his head vigorously in disappointment, but also I think disagreement with the verdict of the ball tracking.
I absolutely think they've got it to hit him on the leg before it actually did. They've got it seems, with the ball tracking, but it's hit him below the knee roll. We both, all here, think it probably hit him above the knee roll. So that's the confusing part, and I think when Johnny's watched the replay there, that's what he's obviously disappointed about. But he falls for 28, 78 for 4 now here on TalkSport 2 England, in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, we get the video replay here, and you've got the knee roll, and then you've got the top hat of the pad. So it's like the sort of U shape on the top. It's hit halfway between the top of that and the knee roll. But as you say, ball tracking made it look as though it's hitting him lower than it actually did.
On the knee roll, absolutely on the ball tracking. So that's what Johnny Bairstow was disappointed about. Obviously shaking his head as he walked off, disappointed as he fell for 28.
I mean, look, it's a beautiful piece of bowling again from Siraj. It's a very similar ball to what got Joe Root out. Great length, just holds you on the crease as a batsman and then just nips back at the last minute. It's wonderful bowling, don't take anything away from the young fella, but there is a little bit of controversy there for me with how that rolled out.
I agree with you totally, but I think what we've got to do is give credit to the bowler as well. Mohammad Siraj is bowled with plenty of energy. You want a bowler like him in your side, someone who's going to run in for you all day. He showed terrific desire, terrific energy. He gets through the crease, he hits the bat hard, he can swing the ball both ways, and both his wickets have been with the ball that's gone back into the right-hander.
Well, Ollie Pope is the new batsman, and he's on strike. There are 2 slips and a gully. Siraj in. Good leave from Ollie Pope outside the off stump. England are 78 for 4. Gareth Batty, so were you saying that something just didn't look quite right about it, but it wasn't necessarily the wrong decision?
No, I think when you watch it live, you're thinking, oh, that's bang in front of them all. It might just be a little bit high. But when we saw the ball tracking, it looked like the impact that they'd suggested it actually hit Johnny was fractionally wrong.
Yeah, so it just looked a bit odd.
Just
but
didn't
it's not
seem right.
necessarily the wrong decision. Yeah.
If it's saying it's hitting the bails, but I'm just suggesting impact.
Siraj in once again, and forward comes Ollie Pope playing defensively. What did you make of it, Jared Kimber?
Well, just on that particular thing, that's actually the hardest thing for DRS. And I know Hawkeye and Eagle Eye, I think the other company was, they've changed their name to Virtual Eye or something, I think now. they had two different methods, and it's actually a really hard thing to match up. And also, you got to remember when the ball hits the pad and it goes in, it doesn't always go it the same way. So they're trying to find the exact frame where it hits straight away. They don't always get that 100% right, which is one reason why they want to have umpires call.
Forward comes Ollie Pope, pushing it again out towards cover point, and there's no run. England are 78 for forward. Expand on that.
So if the ball's hitting the middle of middle stump, halfway out, they even if they've made a mistake, they're probably still going to get it fairly accurate. But when you're talking about on the outside of the stump and those sorts of things, they know that there are little mistakes with where they're tracking the ball, and so that's why sometimes that's wwhy they believe umpires call is a good thing. I think both of the companies agree on that.
Do they still purport to be 99.9% accurate? We're talking about very small margins here. Here's Siraj once again down the leg side, and it's left alone by Ollie Pope, taken by Rishabh Pant. I mean,
the tracking software is 99.9% accurate,
right?
But the bit that's hard is working out exactly the moment that the ball hits the pad. That is not 99.9% accurate.
That's a very important piece of information, isn't it? The impact.
But if you ever watch one of those, have a look how hard it is to actually work out the exact moment. And we don't have. It's not like we've got 2,000 frames per second to go on either.
It's like kicking a football when it leaves the player's foot, whether the player's offside or not. It's the hardest thing.
Forward comes Ollie Pope again, pushing defensively up towards mid-off, and England 78 for 4.
Because the technology and what you've said there about the frames and the photos have not quite caught up yet to give you an 100% decision. And that's the difficulty. And that we all thought originally when it's out, then they show the slow motion and we're thinking that's going over, but then we see it again in full speed and it looks out again. So it's a very, very difficult one to get. But what I will say, it's brilliant bowling from Siraj. It was 146 Ks that delivery, 10 Ks quicker than any of his other deliveries in that over.
Well, it was his first ball of the over, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He's just come in and hit the
146
straps.
clicks.
78 for 4 then. You're listening to commentary of the fourth test match between India and England on TalkSport 2 with the Times and the Sunday Times as our sponsors. Their correspondents, the former England captains, great captains as well, Mike Atherton and Sir Alistair Cook. Michael Atherton, Cricket Writer of the Year, 6 of the last 7 years.
Wow. He's probably going to win it this year as well.
Yes,
let's be
I think he
honest.
probably is as well. Here's Ashwin, and punched off the back foot by Ben Stokes again, and there's no run. Michael Atherton captained England in 54 test matches. Only 5 men have captained England in 50 or more tests. Joe Root has joined them in this test. It's his 50th. Played defensively by Ben Stokes, straight back to the bowler, and there's no run. Alistair Cook, Sir Alistair Cook, 59 as captain. Michael Atherton, 54. Michael Vaughan, 51. Andrew Strauss, 50. And now Joe Root, 50 as well. In a spot of bother here, England. They come to a grinding halt as well as losing another wicket after lunch, and that one is pushed by Ben Stokes out to short cover, no run.
And this is what India have been good at throughout the series. Once they get England by the throat, they just carry it on. They've got bowlers that can bowl tight and put that pressure on.
Ashwin again, and forward comes Stokes, steers it away behind square on the offside.
I think the fact that Ashwin has now come over the wicket is a measure of the pitch. He's certainly not getting that same sideways movement that he has done in the rest of the series, so he's trying to use the angle to challenge the outside edge of Stokes for those couple of balls, and then he reverts back around the wicket where you would say maybe he's trying to hit the inside edge of the bat, because there's not as much spin as we have seen.
Ashwin, last ball of the over. Stokes again forward, steers it out to short catching cover, and again there's no run. 30 overs gone. England 78 for 4. Ben Stokes 28. Ollie Pope has yet to score, and the man out since lunch, Johnny Bairstow, LBW to Mohammad Siraj for 28. For the next 20 minutes, after another word from Darren Goff, it'll be Andrew McKenna.
It's a big innings as well, this, for Ollie Pope, because the way he got out the last test match, yes, it was a difficult test match pitch to bat on, but the way he got out to Ashwin in both innings, where he seemed to be scissor kicking himself before he played his shot, it's a huge, huge game for him. We know he likes to use his feet to the spinners. He's now got a pitch that allow him to do that. There's not excessive turn, and he's going to have seamers bowling at him as well. So this is a big opportunity for Ollie Pope.
And England need them to take it. Here comes Siraj for the first ball of the new over, and Pope is pushing into the covers. It's a push drive. Washington Sundar, I think, is the man who's fielding it there, flicking it back, and Ollie Pope is underway with 2 into the covers. He's got 2 from 6 balls. England 80 for 4.
I feel like the real danger man is Siraj, though, not because he's got the last 2 wickets. He just looked like taking wickets his whole morning spell. He's into his 9th over now, coming up to his 9th, and he's just looked dangerous, Goffey. He's through the crease with pace and moved the ball.
Absolutely, big fan of him. Saw him in Australia and seen him again now. I mean, he's a terrific talent, a huge desire. I say, the energy at the crease and through the crease. He can bowl quickly. He's at a top speed of 146.4 kilometres per hour. That's pretty quick. That's quick enough, isn't it?
That's just a touch under 90 miles an hour. But if you don't work in kilometres. Here he comes, right arm over, hurrying on to Ollie Pope. Pope plays up to mid-on, and there is no run.
I've got one for you, Goffey. He had his top speed there at 146. I've seen him today at 126, 130. Is that change up something he's consciously doing, or is that just a natural variation?
I think it's just natural variation with him. The way he gets through at the crease, you've seen him. He's got a nice little run up. But when he gets the crease, sometimes he gets his timing spot on and he bowls it at a terrific speed. And other ones he don't quite get it right. There's a lot going on in that action, isn't there, as well? I think it's not like a Jimmy Anderson action or, you know what I mean, a Stuart Broad. There's a lot going on with his hands and arms are everywhere.
In he goes again, and that is a short one. Pope ducks underneath that, and it's actually swung late, and Rishabh Pant's got himself handcuffed by it and ended up parrying it over the bar down to the boundary right behind him, and they have taken byes. It's not gone all the way, as Slip's been able to go back and retrieve it. It was dug in, Pope ducks under it, and then it seemed to wobble around. It's hit Rishabh Pant on the right hand, and he's batted it away, and Virat Kohli's had to go and tidy things up there.
But he's bowling good heat, absolutely. He tends to hover around there between 135 and 138. But I say he gets the odd ball up there in the 140s. He's lively, quick enough. People talk about you have to bowl over 90 miles an hour. Trust me, 87, 88, 89, he's quick enough in any game of cricket.
He's at the end of his mark. 2 slips and a close gully for Ben Stokes. Stokes is behind this, and there is no run, just pushing into the offside. If you are just waking up, if the alarm's gone off at 7 o'clock this, well, certainly in central London, an overcast and wet morning, welcome along. England won the toss at 3:30 this morning. They elected to bat. They made 2 changes, with Jofra Archer and Stuart Broad being left out, as Dan Lawrence and Dom Bess came into the side. Unfortunately, it was sort of business as usual. Sibley out for 2 with the score on 10. It became 15 for 2 when Zach Crawley went for 9, and then Joe Root made it 30 for 3 when he went for 5. After lunch, Bairstow out to make it 78 for 4. Stokes in behind the next ball from Siraj, out into the covers on the offside, and there's no run. Stokes has 28, and Pope has the 2 runs so far to his name. That is the state of the game. It is a blisteringly hot day in Ahmedabad, talking about 35, 36 degrees at the hottest point of the day, and that is the case for the whole week. So this is going to be very hard work for for all players actually, not just the English players, but it's going to be a tough old day's work in these conditions. In this circular stadium that is sparsely populated at the moment. Stokes is forward to the final ball of the over from Siraj, pushing it out to mid-wicket, and they take a single. End of the over here on TalkSport 2, 82 for 4. Gareth Batty.
Lovely play there from Ben Stokes. Just starting to get his movements all aligned now, and nicking a single off that last ball, very aware that mid-on was a little bit deep, and just knocked it into that sort of straighter mid-wicket area, just to allow Ollie Pope to observe a few balls from the non-striker's end, rotating the strike, but it just eases in the young fella. Like Goffey said, he'll feel under a little bit of pressure because it's been a tough series from a run scoring point of view. And he'll just calm his nerves that he can be down the non-strikers and just get a bit of a feel for what the pitch might be doing before he actually has to face up to one of the spinners.
Ashwin then to bowl the 32nd over of the innings. Only a slip in place for Stokes. Stokes, as Ashwin goes over the wicket, Stokes allows this to go across his bows and through to Rishabh Pant, no run. Ashwin's already back at the end of his mark and he's waiting for the ball. He's sort of almost signalling, come on, get it back to me, I want to get bowling. Stokes, just to break up the speed, is just backing away. He will now settle back in. Ashwin in, over the wicket, straight on middle stump, and Stokes is forward, and there is no run.
I tell you what, the crowd must know something we don't, because they're must be expecting to go a little bit longer this one, because there's hardly anyone in the stadium today.
Well, I wonder if they've actually taken shelter for the time being. Stokes is going to use his feet, gets to this one on the half volley and hits it wide of mid-on for 4. Glorious shot by Stokes. England 83 for 4, becomes 86 for 4 with the boundary. Stokes moves to 33. He gets to the pitch of that one and clips it wide of mid-wicket with a minimum of fuss.
Yeah, Ashwin over the wicket. All Stokes has to do is get offside of the ball, make sure he can't be done on the outside edge, and he does it beautifully with crisp footwork and then just clips it through straight mid-wicket.
Ashwin over the wicket again. Stokes just quietly forward, pushing out on the offside, and there is no run. Yeah, well, it is 20-1 Ahmedabad time. It is incredibly hot. I wonder if they're either getting something to eat, Goffey, or they're actually maybe taking some refuge from the sun, because if you're in the lower bowl of this enormous stadium, there's not much shelter at the moment. Ashwin in, around the wicket this occasion. Stokes off the back foot, punches to mid-on, no run.
Well, there's plenty of places for him to go and sit.
Yes.
It holds 110,000.
Exactly. How many seats would you like, sir? Yes, exactly. Ashwin around the wicket. Oh, there's some air and there's some width if Stokes wants to take on the shot, but he's not. He's just going to push quietly out to complete the over. This is TalkSport 2. England batting first in this 4th test. 86 for 4.
Yeah, Ashwin operating over and around the wicket to Ben Stokes there, trying to change the angles up. I think it was the 5th ball of the over. He came back around the wicket and dropped his arm, so he's trying to change his angles with his position on the crease, but also where he's releasing the ball from his arm position, trying all the tricks that he has on what is looking like a decent surface to bat on at the moment.
Very much so, Bats. It's very good pitch. It's a nice carry. The fast bowlers have been rubbing their hands together. You go to India, you get a pitch what's got carry. This one's got it. It's got a little bit of turn, but not excessive turn. It's not dusting. England have won the toss. They're batting. They got, unfortunately, got off to a bad start, and now they're playing recovery.
Siraj to start a new over. Ollie Pope is driving this one. He's trying to play in the V with the natural angle back into him. It's taken on the inside portion of the bat and it dribbles up to mid-on, no run.
Well, since Ollie's come to the crease, he's looked like he's trying. You can see he's desperate, isn't he, to get off to a flyer, desperate to get bat on ball, and he's just trying too hard at the moment, just snatching at it.
I think you sort of mentioned that about Crawley earlier in the day. Just, two young lads, wonderful players, wanting to really put the stamp on this, which is great. You want to see that. Just ease off the throttle a little bit and allow your natural instincts to take over.
In comes Siraj. Pope is turning this on the onside and will take a single up to Ishant Sharma at mid-on. England go to 87 for 4.
But it's like anything, isn't it? When you're getting runs on the board, you've got runs and you're going into a test match, you're full of confidence and everything just fits in nicely. When you're scratching around, you keep getting low scores, you're wondering where that next run, you're almost thinking, you're not seeing it right. You think, oh, there's an half volley, oh, it's a good length, Nick, out. And that's what follows you around, doesn't it? Bad form.
Yeah.
Snatching at it.
Siraj makes the way back to the end of his mark. Ollie Pope is just turning around, looking at him, saying, is he on the way? Yes, he is. He's on the way into Ben Stokes. And Stokes just plays this one back to the bowler. Something I've just noticed on the TV coverage, 2 slips and a gully for Siraj. And we all accept that he's bowled some genuinely quick deliveries in this. But I just noticed Rohit Sharma at second slip is actually further forward than Rishabh Pant, and the gully is significantly in front of Rohit. There's a very big stagger on this, and the angle. I'm just wondering if India are sort of indicating us here that maybe the carry through is starting to slow down and die a bit. Stokes is solidly in behind this from Siraj, and there's no run. I mean, you would normally expect second slip to be about level with the keeper, but Rohit was definitely in front of him on that occasion, and Gully is significantly in front of Rohit.
I think it's used in a lot of pictures, especially when it's not flying. And I think what they're worried about is, but if you think back to Ben Stokes, he's had a couple that have gone to around second slip but gone one bounce in.
In goes Siraj around the wickets. It's down the leg side. Stokes tries to flick it down to fine leg but can't catch up with it. No run.
I think it would come from you lads, wouldn't it, Goffey? The bowler would just say, look, I'd rather you get a bit closer and drop it than actually be stood too far back and it not carry. Let's give ourselves the opportunity of a chance.
Especially second slip. First slip, you get him being next to the keeper, but the second slip, a lot of them, if a batsman's playing late and he's playing it late, it tends to go. It don't carry as far and he's not punching at it. Obviously, if Ben Stokes takes a massive drive,
Siraj it doesn't take a massive drive at this delivery. It's just pushed out on the offside. No run.
If he nicks it to second slip off a massive throw in the kitchen sink at it, and your second slip's too close, it's going to hit him straight on the bonds, isn't it? But they're doing it for the defensive nick. I think is there for that. They want to make sure if he does nick it and he get a chance of catching it.
Well, it's as you say, isn't it? It's almost the case now that they almost... But we know that they practice the rebound catches. It's, as you say, you'd rather they get something on it and have a go, and if you can't take it cleanly, well, you might be able to sort of parry it on or whatever. It's the end of the over. It's TalkSport 2. 87 for 4 are England. And, of course, at the end of the day, Following On is here to round up all the action. If you don't hear it when it goes out live, then you can hear it as a podcast later on. You can get it for free on the TalkSport app or wherever you get your podcasts from. And there's also our YouTube End of Play podcast as well, which I'll tell you about in a moment as Ollie Pope gets this one from Ashwin. That is via YouTube. Outside Edge brings you all the analysis and the bits and pieces from the day. So if you want to sit down and watch something at the end of the day, then get yourself onto TalkSport's YouTube show, Outside Edge. Ollie Pope waits. Ashwin bowls over the wickets. Turned in the onside. Really well played by Pope. He's found the gap between short leg and mid wicket and he's able to take a single. He's got 4 from 12. England 88 for 4. Darren Gough and Gareth Batty have moved out. Steve Harmison moves in. Harmy.
Yeah, it's good from Ollie Pope, just trying to rotate the strike. Get down to the end, like Bat said before. Get an eye on the feel of the temperature and feel of the wicket, feel of the occasion.
Ashwin over the wicket to Stokes. Stokes plays forward, kicks out the back leg as well, just as another line of defence just in case, but it doesn't need it. It solidly hits the middle of the bat and there is no run. Shubman Gill is a couple of pitch widths away at Silly Point now. He's a bit deeper as Stokes is deep in the crease, hitting hard into the covers but with no real timing, and there's no run. Shubman Gill is what, 1, 2, 3, maybe even 4 pitches away at short point, and there's a short extra cover. Slip is in the normal position as Stokes plays quietly into the offside and there's no run. This is almost normal Test cricket, Steve Harmison.
It is, yeah. We've been getting carried away over the last 2 Test matches with the amount of balls turned and men round the bat, the chatter that's been going, India on top.
Ashwin in, Stokes deep in the crease, pushing out to Gill, no run.
This is exactly what you want as the over finishes 88 for 4, and it is like you say, it's proper test match cricket, and the sound of our voice sounds surprising after what we've had over the course of the last 2 Test matches. Is a bit like, it's not quite as flat as what the first Test match is, but I like this surface. I think it's a good surface. I think it's a surface, if you're willing to watch the ball carefully, back your defensive technique, you can score runs on because the ball's coming onto the bat, waiting for the bowler to make a mistake, cashing in. Not so much turn, but that will happen as the pitch deteriorates and the game goes on, which is natural wear and tear. It's what you want in a cricket surface. and it's about batsmanship, being patient, picking the right ball, having the right tempo, balance and shape, all that fundamentals that comes with batting, and rotating the strike, especially with the left and right hand combination. And Ollie Pope started quite well, and he's 4 off 12 balls, but he has looked busy on the crease, he has looked light on his feet, and he has got the ball into a gap and got down the other end. So long may that continue if you're an England fan.
Just a slight pause while Ben Stokes gets a drink and a change of gloves before we start the new over. It will be Siraj to continue. This will be his 11th in the innings. 2 for 30 so far. He will come in past umpire Nitin Menon. Bowls right arm over. There's width there, but Ollie Pope can't beat the fielder at cover. The drive ball was offered and he played the shot, but he wasn't able to put it away. You are listening to commentary of the 4th Test between India and England on TalkSport 2 with the Times and the Sunday Times. You can try it for free for a month at thetimes.co.uk/cricket offer. Now that subscription will auto renew unless you cancel it. Terms and conditions apply, so check them out first. Pope waits. Siraj is in, and this one is outside of off stump, and Pope has nothing to do with it. Allows it through to Rishabh Pant, and there is no run.
He's bowled very, very well this morning, Siraj. Justifying his selection over Umesh Yadav. And he's looked to get the ball in good areas, good areas where giving the batsman a chance to drive the ball. Ball's moved slightly because of the hustle and bustle that he's got, his wrist behind the ball, the odd cross seamer made the ball just do that little bit extra. But he's run in and he's done well for his captain.
He's on his way outside of off stump. That is another ball that could be driven, but Ollie Pope hits it straight into the ground. It loops up. Washington Sundar is the man doing the fielding, and there is no run. Akash is back with us. Akash Chopra, the former Indian batsman, watching this game as he has the rest of the series with us here on TalkSport 2. It's good Test cricket, this, isn't it, Akash? That's what we're just saying.
It is fascinating Test cricket. There is not a lot of help for faster bowlers or spinners on this surface, and Indian bowlers are toiling really hard, and that's what you would like to see very often.
Siraj in, Ollie Pope covers up, and there is no run. So how do India play this? Because it's interesting that Siraj is already into his 11th over. I mean, in the last Test match, obviously it would have been pretty much spin all the way from here on in, Akash.
Yes, but this is a different surface, different ball. We haven't seen like puff of dust when the ball has landed. This is a very good batting surface, in my opinion. 88 for 4 may not actually justify the quality of the surface just yet, but there are runs to be scored, and India will have to be patient. It's like a typical Test match game.
Siraj is in, another drive ball and a drive shot from Ollie Pope, but again, no real timing. It's straight to mid-off, and there is no run, and there's one ball left of the over, Harmy.
It's also good bowling by Siraj because he's giving the ball a chance. If there is any sort of movement, which is not a great deal, but he's got an extra cover. Mid on and mid off are very, very straight. 2 slips there if Ollie Pope starts leaning back on himself and brings the outside edge into play. So he's more or less saying to Ollie Pope, who is just starting his innings, right, I'm going to give you drive balls to hit, I'm going to give you balls to hit, but I'm also pushing them just that little bit wider to bring the field in play. I've got protection, so it's a little bit of a chess match here, and who breaks first?
Final ball of the over then from Siraj. Oh, it's a short ball that Ollie Pope thought about playing, thought about ducking out the way of, and in the end has sort of ducked into it. It actually hit the bat, drops down on the ground, and he's furious with himself because he thought, I could have pulled that through mid-wicket for 4. In the end, he's been fortunate. It actually dropped down into the flap of his pad and looped out on the offside, and there is no run. Overdone and dusted, England 88 for 4. More thoughts from Harmy. Our mate Wes Martin Nicholas picks up the ball by ball.
Yeah, and that's something else that Siraj has got in his armoury because he's short, a bit like Darren Gough. The bouncer is so hard to play from a batsman, and more than most, Mark. You know, opening the batsman against a tall bowler, a short bowler. When the ball, you know, the pitches aren't as bouncy, and you're not thinking, right, it's going to comfortably go over your head. If you were facing someone like myself, it is very, very difficult to get out the way, and that's something else that Siraj has brought to the party.
Yes, very true. I'd love Goffey, but he's not in the room at the moment. But I think that particularly applies to the skiddier bowlers, actually. Certainly Malcolm Marshall would bowl more bouncers on pitches that weren't so quick and didn't have such convincing bounce, whereas you go to someone like Hove, which in those days used to bounce high, or Barbados, his home ground, and he didn't bowl so many. He'd bowl back of a length balls then rather than just bouncers for exactly that reason. It's very hard to judge. That's very full and played into the ground by Stokes. There's a sort of, everybody knows he's hit it into the ground, but there's a dummy appeal. Oh well. Anil Chowdhury, the umpire, is now going to go and check it, because there was an appeal, even though it was part in jest, and he's a nervous umpire, unlike his partner out there, Nitish Menon, who's a very confident umpire. So he's gone to chat to Nitish Menon. They've now referred it to the TV umpire, who is it? It's Anil Chowdhury, sorry, is the TV umpire. Virender Sharma is the guy out there. He's the nervous one. I've got them muddled. He's asked the TV umpire to have a look, but it's clear that Stokes has hit it into the ground. And we're now going to see the big sign come up on the TV that says not out, so that's confirmation of that. But as I say, Virender Sharma is a bit nervous, as really was Anil Chowdhury, and I don't blame them particularly. I think generally the umpires have done very well in this series, as Stokes works that away into the leg side, but for no run. The best form of Stokes would see him hit that ball for 4, because it is over pitch. Here's Akshar Patel again, as way down the leg side and left alone by Stokes, who decides not to get bat or hand or body involved. And there's a bye, actually. Rishabh Pant has had a funny old day. It's not been easy to keep wicket. The ball's swung and dipped after it's pitched and gone through to the keeper. Welcome everybody. You might just be getting up. Great to have you with us. We're here on TalkSport 2 and TalkSport, actually. We were for the first 2 hours as well, and we go back and forth from TalkSport. We're partnered with the Times and the Sunday Times, and we're looking at a slightly surprising sight at the stadium, because very few spectators here, which I can't explain. I doubt it's just the heat, though it is a very hot day, as Pope presses forward and plays a pretty solid defensive stroke to Akshar. The ball rolls safely out onto the offside, and now he goes back, and that spins. It really does spin, and it was short enough to leave alone, which was good news, because if that had been a bit straighter and he'd had to play it, that really bounces too.
Bounce, and a little bit of dust came off the surface. It just broke the surface there, Mark, I thought.
And it's left alone outside off stump. The end of the Akshar Patel over. England 89 for 4, Stokes 33, and Pope 4. Akash, I know you're still with us. Why are so few spectators, do you think, today?
I don't know, actually. It's of course we've been observing this, but there is no such diktat or there is no fresh restrictions with regards to people coming into the stadium. It's a weekday, yes, but you would still expect more people in the ground for a test match in India. So I'm as perplexed as you are, and I've got no answer why it is the case this time.
Well, I suppose the excitement of the first test and also being able to get back in and watch live sport combined to explain the good crowds. There were around 40,000 a day, but this really is, actually, it's a shock to see how few people are there. Anyway, we won't dwell on that, because there are brighter things to talk about, which is the intensity of the cricket that's going India's way at the moment. Here's Mohammad Siraj to bowl to Ben Stokes, and Stokes is forward. Lovely straight drive, beating sprawling fielders, one of them the bowler himself, the other the mid-on fielder. The very best of Ben Stokes.
Absolutely. You mentioned just 2 or 3 balls ago, Mark, when he's facing Akshar Patel, fire and confident Ben Stokes would have put that away for 4. That is a fire and confident Ben Stokes. Straight back down the ground. Lovely, full face of the bat. And it was a beautiful shot, and it just might the confidence is just starting to flow back into somebody who I think we can all agree that has been relatively quiet throughout this Test match series.
Yeah, it needs a real biggie from him here, from England's point of view. Siraj bowls again, and Stokes has played defensively from the crease throughout this innings. He hasn't bothered too much with his footwork, and he's done exactly the same there. And my suspicion is that he's concentrated entirely on his head and tried to get it in the right place, not fall over to the offside. And particularly against Ashwin, he's done his best to try to stay leg side of the ball. At a close LBW call, but in general he's focusing on head and hands, I think, more than feet
as well, and letting the ball come to him and buying himself just that little bit more time.
And he does it again there. Plays, although you'd say he went back there, you probably wouldn't say he played from the crease. Akash, your impressions of Ben so far?
Started a little circumspect. The feet movement was a little once again not so confident to begin with, but now of course he's flowing into confidence, is growing in confidence. The feet are moving better, and I honestly do feel this is a fantastic pitch to bat. There are no demons. If you can get yourself in, you could be in for a very long haul, and that's one thing that's been missing a Stokes century in this series so far.
Yeah, fair call. That's a bouncer down the leg side, left alone by Stokes. Ducks underneath it, nods as if to say I'm in control of myself. I tell you what I do want to talk about is selection. England shocked us, surprised us maybe I should say, this morning, not by playing Bess instead of Broad, but by playing Lawrence, the batsman, instead of Archer, the quick bowler. So they've gone in with Anderson only, and Stokes, assuming he's fully fit to bowl. I don't know that he is. He's only bowled 15 overs in the series. And so they look underpowered to me. It's as if they've overreacted to the likelihood of the pitch. And now Short, and he has a big flash at that outside off stump, going for the uppercut over gully, but misses, and it flies through to the keeper, and there's a bit of anguish amongst the fielders who all throw back their heads or their hands, not least Mohammad Siraj, who's an animated young man. And just to finish on that point, I just feel that Archer would have been very useful on this pitch, particularly had England lost the toss and had to bowl today. In fact, I think if they'd been bowling today, they would have deeply regretted the decision. If the pitch deteriorates a bit and it spins, they may not. Who's to say? Lawrence may come in and play a fine innings. That's a defensive stroke from the crease again from Stokes, but very soundly played, and it's 93 for 4 at the end of the over. Akash, what did you make of England's selection?
A very defensive move, Mark. And yes, it may be an overreaction to what happened in the previous game. You don't want anybody to, you don't pick someone to make sure that there is somebody who can bat at number 9. So Dom Bess is a fairly decent batsman. He's batting at 9. And that just does not sound right. In fact, from India's perspective as well, I'm once again, it's slightly off-field selection. Washington Sundar played the last game, I know, but he bowled only 4 balls. But he did play the first game and got dropped because he didn't pick up wickets. So I personally felt that Kuldeep Yadav should have played. Of course, 2 wrongs won't make a right, and it may not be fair on either of them. But if you are looking to pick 20 wickets, you pick your best bowlers. You pick at least 4, if not 5. England have gone in the direction of only 3. India has picked 4.5. So it's slightly defensive mindset.
Well summed up. Here's Akshar Patel, and he bowls a nice ball, flighted and floating into Ollie Pope, who's forward and pushes it out and covers for no run. Pope has 4 from 22 balls. Stokes 37 from 88. England 93 for 4 in Ahmedabad. Down comes Stokes. Lovely shimmy of the feet to get near to the pitch of the ball. It's much easier to do that on this pitch than on the previous 2. And all credit for the speed of that footwork, which is a strength of Ollie Pope. Yeah, Akash, I think I'd say England have picked 3 and 2 halves in Stokes and Root. Or 2 2/3 or something, because both of them take wickets on their day, as we know. Now Stokes is back, and mid-on is back too, and therefore that little push that shouldn't get a run does. But they're so wary of Stokes coming down pitch and driving over mid-on that they push mid-on back. And so there's an easy single, and Stokes has the right mindset to take the single and not not try to bite off more than he could necessarily chew. That's a nice forward defensive from Ollie Pope. The ball comes off the face of his bat, but there's no undue spin or uneven bounce. That uneven bounce is the shocker when you're playing against spin. Most decent batsmen would reckon to handle spin, but with bounce, it's extra bounce or uneven bounce. It's really difficult. Again goes Pope forward with a lovely big stride, pushes it to square cover. There's a little look around all the Indian guys who think that Akshar's got his flight right today. Definitely bowled it a little slower than he did in the last test when he drove it into the pitch. And another little flighty one, and again a forward defensive stroke from Ollie Pope. End of the over, 95 for 4. What are you pointing at, Harmy? Oh, Jared's ready. Great, go Jared.
Just a news update, actually. The Pakistan Super League has been suspended due to COVID. So the owners and the management got together and said that it wasn't safe to go on with. They've had a couple of quite a few players go down of recent times, so they've suspended the Pakistan Super League. Just one for you, Harmy. Mohammad Siraj, when he bowls an in-swinger, he bowls at 50 centimetres fuller than when he bowls an out-swinger. And most bowlers, when they bowl an in-swinger, actually bowl a little bit shorter. Kind of makes sense to bowl it a little bit fuller because you can attack the stumps. But is there a reason that most bowlers might bowl a little bit shorter when they're bowling an in-swinger?
When you're looking to bowl an in-swinger, you tend to drop your left shoulder just a touch more, open yourself up, and if you're a bowler, teaching a young kid to bowl in action, trying to take the ball away nicely, you'd say, right, your bowling hand right the way through to your armpit will get your head going down the pitch, and that'd be the best way to describe how you'd sort of teach a young kid to bowl. But the in-swinger, you're more finished round about sort of if you're a right arm bowler, you're inside of your right thigh, so you're opening your sort of left shoulder up, and sometimes when you do open your left shoulder up, you can sort of dip too early, drag it down. But actually what Siraj does is he throws his left arm out.
Washington Sundar bowls a brilliant first ball. It doesn't get a wicket, but not by much. Beats Ben Stokes' forward push, spins, bounces, and well, you other than taking a wicket with one, you can't bowl a better first ball than that.
Somebody who hasn't bowled for a while, because he didn't bowl much in the last test match. He started with an absolute peach.
Here he comes again and pitches it a little shorter, and Stokes goes back and plays it out onto the offside. He has 38 from 90 balls. He's played very calmly. Really hasn't sort of stretched himself. What's that old phrase? He's played within himself. Sundar again with a very upright action, quite front on. Not unlike Ashwin. It isn't like Ashwin, but it's not unlike Ashwin, if you know what I mean by that. And he obviously, as a young man, watched Ashwin and thought this is a good way to bowl. Here he comes again. Forward goes Stokes, plays it defensively, having left the previous ball alone. And it's just quiet, a little lull in the test match as we wait to see who cracks first. Some tight bowling here. Some defensive batting, a relatively sedated crowd. Washington Sundar polishes the ball. He's a good-looking chap. He looks around the field. He has his captain arrive for a conversation about that field. They don't necessarily agree. Kohli yet to get his way. Sundar looks at him quizzically, turns again to work on the ball like all spinners, ripping it in his fingers. Looks as if they've come to a decision, and Stokes pats the ground, waits, plays forward defensively. A ball a touch wider than the one 2 balls ago. They defended straight, so it rolled to square cover this time.
I just wonder if he's asking, Virat Kohli's asking in Washington Sundar to bring deep square leg up and invite Stokes to sweep, because Washington Sundar's a tall man and the ball's just bouncing a touch more.
That's just wide of slip. Beautiful little carrot offered by Washington Sundar. Threw it up wide, spun it. Stokes pushed at it, nicked it, and got 2 to third man.
Yeah, just beautiful, absolutely beautiful in the flight, doing him all ends up. And it was a good over by Washington Sundar. He bowled nice flight, good length, ball outside off stump, little bit of turn, more turn when he bowled that last ball, which was a little bit slower and it bounced. But just to go back to what you're talking about, selection, Mark, and Jofra Archer, I don't think Jofra Archer was fit. I think Jofra Archer's elbow was a little bit of a concern. So whether it was going to be Mark Wood or Ollie Stone, I still think that selection would have been better.
Or Stuart Broad.
Or Stuart Broad would have been better than the extra batsman.
Well, I really hope that Lawrence justifies the selection and
Absolutely.
plays a fine innings. That would be good as Pope goes forward and pushes out into the offside. Akash, sorry, we'll come to you at the end of this coming over, assuming are you still there?
Yeah, I am.
No, good man. Down comes Pope, blocks it as he very quick on his feet, so he gets nearer the pitch of the ball. And it's a good way to play spin because you don't have to attack when you come down. People perceive it's only an attacking adventure, if you like, but you can certainly defend by getting close to the ball. He does it again, plays beautifully. Lovely to see that as he gets nearer the pitch, bends his front leg, is right over the ball. And I know that an Indian batsman such as Akash, in other words, someone who isn't especially tall, and I don't mean he's tiny like Sunny Gavaskar say, but not especially tall, would really appreciate this batsmanship. Now a silly point comes in. That's a good move from Kohli, good response. So what does Pope do? He goes back and perfectly side on, plays a defensive stroke. Good batting, good cricket so far in the over. England are 97 for 4. Pope has just 5 battling to get settled. Been out there 30 balls. That's a good cut stroke. Lovely shot. That really is. He waited and waited and waited and finished with a nice flourish, wrapping the bat round his shoulder. He's got a lot of talent, this boy. He goes to 9 with that shot.
And that's the beauty about coming down the wicket, Mark, and having fast feet. Not at all, man. Because he's come down the wicket, Axar Patel's just dragged that down just a touch, and because it got a little bit of width and it's a little bit shorter, he can go right back on his stumps and the late cut, bit Ian Bell-like, straight down the third, short third man and
there's
4.
a bit of Bell in his batting, isn't there, in general? Now he comes forward and defends, and that certainly could have been Bell, that forward defensive shot. And Silly Point does the fielding, 101 for 4. Akash, very interesting conversation, isn't it, about the pitch, because to me this is everything you'd want a pitch to be. Everybody's got a chance.
Absolutely. You need to have all skills on display and everybody to make an impact. We've seen fast bowlers picking up a couple of wickets. We've seen good batting flourishing, and watching Oli Pope is a delight for an English batsman to play the spin the way he does. Use of feet, playing the ball really close to the body as well. And he was getting a little befuddled when he was playing against Ashwin in this series, but he's looked assured today. And you've got Ben Stokes at the other, and that's exactly what you want. This is very similar to the pitch that perhaps we saw in the first Test match at Chennai, where winning the toss was of course an advantage, and if you could bat well, you could bat well for about 5-6 sessions. So that's where you would want to be, and that is where you might also once again ask questions about the team selection, and England might just end up asking those, because just going back to that 4-bowler, 5-bowler theory, Ben Stokes, as you mentioned, Mark, has bowled only 15 overs. So is he really your fast bowling option? Do you see him bowling too many overs with a new ball alongside James Anderson? And if that's not the case, then you have a problem at your hands, because you're not giving yourself enough chances to win a Test match. Maybe draw one, but not win. Akash,
what do you said it's a very good batting pitch. How would you compare this one to the first Test match, shall we say? Because there was a lot of talk of the Indian captain was displeased about this that surface. What do you make of this surface compared to that one?
There is a slight difference with regards to pace, is what I feel. There is a bit more pace in this surface as compared to the first one. First one was a little too slow for everyone's liking, where for the first couple of days it just did not offer anything to the spinners or to the faster bowlers. It was like a long, tough grind, and then it opened up quite nicely. India was guilty of not batting big in the first innings. India has played Test matches on those kind of surfaces, but you find a way to draw a Test match like that. And this one has a bit more difference, like a bit more pace off the surface, and that allows you to create opportunities, and that's what we've seen with Mohammad Siraj, whether it's Root or Bairstow. there was pace on offer off the surface, and that contributed to their dismissal. So I think this is a much more like an even wicket to start with. The one at Chennai was heavily loaded in favor of the batsman for the first couple of days.
Very good. Lovely summary. Thank you. We've got getting a look at the bowling figures. Siraj has 2 for 34 and Akshay has 2 for 27. While I've got you, can I just quickly, why has India suddenly in this last... Oh, he's gone, is he? All right, I'll ask him later. My producer's just said that he's gone. I was going to ask him about the amount of fast bowlers around suddenly and the high quality of them, and why there had been a change in emphasis in Indian cricket now, with so many more pitches having some grass on them, and maybe one is a corollary of the other. It's a really long drinks break. Of the Indian players left the field, that's how hot it is. It's this is as long a drink break as I've ever seen.
Could it be IPL, Mark, when you think you've got to have a lot of tricks in your armoury now? It's not a case of just running up and hitting in and around top of off stump. Because of the IPL, you've got to be able to move the ball. The contest between the bat and the ball is far outweighed the bat in the IPL. You've actually got to have more skills, and because of you having the more skills and you develop more, then that's gone that next step a little bit further.
Certainly your squad with pitches all around India, you've certainly got to have a balance to your squad, and if you've got good pace, you bring in a few overseas players as they did in 2008, and then that begins to affect the Indian players. I was actually thinking, with news that the Pakistan Super League being postponed because of COVID, whether that might force the IPL to go back to the UAE. Interesting. Anyway, enough of me, more of Harmy, and then it'll be Neil Manthorpe.
Yeah, that'll be fascinating to see what happens with the IPL. But I just think there's a lot of quality now in India's seam department.
Indeed there is. Washington Sundar's next delivery after the elongated drinks break spins sharply outside Ben Stokes' off stump, further away, and he leaves it alone. England remain 101 for 4. Ben Stokes slipping a man at cover, steered to that man at he's a short cover point, probably a dozen yards away, but straight. Unusual position. He's certainly in the batsman's peripheral vision. He's close in there is Shubman Gill. He's still got the shin pads on for his short leg duties. Here is Sundar once again. Turn and bounce. Well, that's a good delivery. Ben Stokes, I think, just pulled the bat inside the line of it at the last possible moment. But good turn and bounce, and good grip. Actually, I need to ask Jared Kimber whether we've got any form of measurement to say whether the red ball turns more than the pink ball. Or in fact, it should be the other way around, whether the pink ball grips less than the red ball. And we all spoke a lot about the pink ball skidding, being the extra lacquer that made it so hard, so much harder and longer than the red balls. Oh, a slog sweep from Ben Stokes, and he missed it. Ball spins onto his pad and loops up gently towards slip, where it's taken by Ajinkya Rahane. England 101 for 4. Shot of aggression from Ben Stokes.
Very much so, Manners, and I think this is what Virat Kohli was asking Ben to do earlier, because he was wanting to bring the fielder up, to bring that shot into play.
Sundar in again. Stokes pushes it to that man at short cover point. Shubman Gill does the fielding. I can. There's a smell of smoke as Jared Kimber fiercely pounds his keyboard, burning the technology to find some evidence that the pink ball does actually skid more than the red ball. Here is Washington Sundar. Slog sweep once again from Ben Stokes. No problem with connecting with this one. All the way over wide, long on for 6. Second maximum for Ben Stokes. No problem at all in connecting with that one. And he moves on to 46. And England are 107 for 4.
Yeah, Virat Kohli was asking Washington Sundar to bring the man up on the leg side boundary, to invite Ben Stokes to play the sweep or the slog sweep, because of the amount of bounce that Washington Sundar's getting. He did bring the man up, and Ben Stokes did play the slog sweep. He hit it for 6. It was a beautiful shot, very much in control. Didn't try and hit it too hard. Went with the angle of the bowler from outside, from round the wicket, and hit it. It wasn't so much cow corner. It was sort of wide-ish mid-wicket, and it was a very, very controlled stroke. Good shot by Ben Stokes, and he's looking as though he's now just starting to go through the gears a bit.
Jared, got an answer?
You want my skidometer?
Yes.
That's what I was looking for.
Yes.
They put something up on the TV screen before. So essentially, the pink ball loses about 13 to 14% of its pace from a spinner when it hits the surface. And the red balls have been losing about 20 to 22% of the pace. So the pink ball in the last test did actually spin quite a bit, but it wasn't the spin that caused the problem. It was that extra pace that Joe Root talked about.
So when it wasn't spinning, it was skidding.
It was skidding straight on. And so there was more spin the test before.
Axar Patel begins a new over, pushed away by Ollie Pope to mid-on.
But that's because we look at the average spin. So if you think about it, if you've got a bunch of balls skidding straight on, you're going to get a lower average spin anyway. So the pink ball did spin pretty much the same rate as the red one. It just doesn't spin as often.
Axar Patel once more, pushed up towards mid-on.
So
confirmation of what we knew, or what the evidence of our eyes told us.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we picked it up. I was going to say quite early on in the last test, but the whole test was quite early on.
Well, if you play the line of the ball, it doesn't matter whether it skids on or spins, does it?
Patel in once again. Ollie Pope uses his feet nicely, pushes it in the mid-on, sets off with a single. Pujara picks up, shies at the stumps and hits them. But that was really good decision-making, I think, from Ollie Pope.
I think
first of all,
the right
his choice
man.
of the shot.
Yeah, and picked the right fielder.
Yes.
Pujara, yeah. Absolutely 100%.
Stand back.
He's definitely safe, isn't he? I mean, he doesn't look remotely concerned. He's not even breathing hard. But it was just good all-round decision-making.
Keep going.
Often,
Grounded,
direct
grounded,
hits can be
grounded.
closer
Go to the big screen.
than we
Go
think.
to the big
but
screen. Not out.
he's made it. He's slowing down.
Soon as I saw who the fielder was, I was convinced he was safe. Ollie Pope's quite quick between the stumps, and Pujara is quite slow in the field. So there's one winner there. Absolutely.
It was. I mean, he went straight away. He knew exactly who he was hitting it to, didn't he?
Yeah, and they do. Batsmen still do that. It's a thing you do in the leagues. It's a thing you do as a professional sportsman.
Here's Axar Patel once more, and over the wicket. Ben Stokes pushes it out on the leg side, no run.
But what I have done is seen people get done for that when they run to two to a fielder. I've seen it to Devon Malcolm on a few occasions. But what Devon's got,
Pushed away out on the onside, no run, is the most powerful arm in the English game.
absolutely. How many times people tried to take him on? Yes, he was a nightmare trying to pick the ball up. He could drop it, and 9 out of 10 trying to pick the ball up. But if he did get hold of it and threw it, nobody was getting back, no matter how quick they are.
I can recall 3 or 4 times when he fumbled the ball at third man or fine leg. Here is Patel now around the wicket to Ben Stokes, plays defensively, and there's no run, and then produced a run out.
Oh yeah,
because he fumbled
it does.
And the batsman turned for the second on the misfield, which he should never do, and then Devon would just fire it in over the top. I mean, it was flat,
mate,
horizontal.
Can you imagine a team when we had Malcolm, Devon Malcolm, and Phil Tufnell in our as fielders? You know what I mean? I mean, it's impossible, wasn't it? When you talk about upping the standards in the field, and then you got Devon and Tuffers, who couldn't catch. At least Dev could throw it. Tuffers couldn't even throw it.
108.
He could bowl though.
4. No, that's absolutely. Devon Malcolm, in some people's minds, historically, is credited with triggering a collapse in a Test match against the West Indies in Jamaica in 1990. That ultimately saw England win the Test. It was the first Test match of the series. There was an opening partnership with, would it be Haynes and Greenwich?
Haynes and Greenwich.
Here is Sundar once again, and that's nudged away very nicely past Virat Kohli at mid-wicket, and they scurry through for a single. And there was something.
Or was it Lambert? Was it?
I can't remember, but the West Indies were flying along. You know, they were 100 for 1 or 100 for 0. Devon Malcolm fumbled one really awkwardly at fine leg, and they turned for the second run, and then before you knew it, just after lunch, the West Indies were 120 for 3, 150 for 5, and England won the Test match. And Devon Malcolm's misfield started the rout. Here is Washington Sundar, left alone outside the off stump, very well taken by Rishabh Pant.
I missed another one we would have had in 11 as well. We'd have had Fraser, Malcolm and Tufnell. Even better.
How many hiding places do you need?
Where can you put them?
2 at fine leg. Here is Washington Sundar again outside the off stump, left alone again. He started really well here, Washington Sundar. He looked a bit innocuous in the previous test.
Getting bounce, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Another tall off spin.
Is it overspin? Where's Gareth Batty when we need him? Is he getting some over? He's turning it as well, though. I mean, it's square spin as well. As forward comes Stokes again, nudging out towards wideish mid-off, no run.
And I think that's been evident in this series, you know, where the Indian spin bowlers have been taller, higher action, got more bounce, got more turn than we've through Bess and Leach.
They just
and then Joe Root with his height, he's quite tall man. He was effective in the last test.
You and I talk about pace. Most of us talk about pace, and they've bowled it quicker. We're not allowed to say that when Gareth Batty's around, because he talks about bowling a strong ball.
It's pace.
It's pace. It's quicker. Bowling it into the wicket. Here is Washington Sundar, and that's chopped in the air. Only one slip in place, no one at gully, so it was perfectly safe to backward point. And they go through for a single. Yes, Gareth Batty doesn't like to talk about bowling it quicker. He talks about bowling a strong ball into the pitch. To the non-specialists, that is most of us, it's just quicker, giving the batsman less time to no option but to play the ball off the pitch.
It's got good bounce though, this pitch, man. I think it's bringing everybody into the game, and I think I've been really pleased with the pitch, the way they've come back and prepared this one, because it's got a little bit in it for the seamer, as we've seen. It's got nice carry, and then for the spinner, without dusting, it's got that little bit of bounce.
Sundar in again to Ollie Pope, who's pushing it out towards mid-wicket, and there's no run. The throw comes in, Rishabh Pant removes the stump, but nobody had left their crease. England 110 for 4. You're listening to commentary on the fourth and final test between India and England on TalkSport 2, courtesy of the Times and the Sunday Times cricket team, whose correspondents are former England captains Mike Atherton and Sir Alistair Cook. It just goes to show what Indian groundsmen are capable of.
Well, it is. It's good. Like I said, this Indian team is a really good team. Right, they've got to impress you whatever they put out. They've got quality batsmen in their squad who ain't had a game yet in this series. We know Jadeja's to come back in, and then with the seam they've got Umesh Yadav, who's been out injured. He's back in the squad now. They've got Shami to come back in as well.
Kumar.
Yeah, Kumar. I think he'll definitely tour England with his swing and his effectiveness, especially at Lords. I think he bowled well last time, didn't he, when he toured England? And they've got Siraj now, they've got Ishant Sharma, they've got Bumrah. They've got an all-round team. They're a fantastic team and no matter what pitch they play on, they're always going to be in the game. Always.
Well, they've got a bit of a hold-up here. I don't know if there's something wrong with Rishabh Pant's wicket-keeping pads, or whether... I think there was something uncomfortable stuck behind one of his pads, and he didn't want to go through the whole bothersome process of taking all his gloves off.
Was it the bail had dropped down there?
Is that what it was?
I think the bail had dropped down
when he broke the wicket at the end of the last over.
Got stuck down his pad.
It was Shubman Gill who
they were flashing as well
to fish it out. Eventually they retrieved the bail. They've got it back on top of the stumps. Here's Akshar Patel, and Ben Stokes plays defensively up towards mid-on. Sometimes you're concerned about saying that a batsman is looking comfortable. Here's Akshar once again. It's pitching outside leg stump. Ben Stokes leaves it alone, hits him on the pad. So I'm wary to say that Ben Stokes is looking comfortable. He's 47 not out. He's had to work hard. He hasn't worked as hard as Ollie Pope. We're just seeing a replay of when that throw came in and hit the stumps, and the bail
It actually went in his
Disappeared.
glove. He didn't know. He didn't see it.
Akshar Patel once again. He's around the wicket, outside leg stump. So they actually lost the bail.
They
That was
lost
what the
bail.
hold-up was.
They didn't know where the bail was, and it was in his glove, flashing. He walked off, not realising, but it had gone into his glove at the top.
And everybody was, that's what they were looking for.
Yes, and he
Everybody
was
was walking
flying.
around looking for the bail.
And he was stuck in his glove.
110 for 4. Here is Akshar Patel once more. Stokes sweeps outside leg stump. That's interesting that he chose to play that shot, because that's what India are saying. That he's bowling around the wicket into the rough outside leg stump, saying to Ben Stokes, go on then, sweep. Well, you make the bowler's footmarks may not be too problematic at the moment, but it's a risk shot. If you're prepared to do it, then fine. I would have thought Ben Stokes, well, he's a positive player, isn't he?
Well, I'll
Doesn't
tell you
wanna
what,
get bogged down.
it's good keeping.
It is good,
Taking
very
it down
good,
the leg
yeah.
side with a bounce there, vicious bounce.
Here is Akshar Patel once again, and Stokes this time to a straighter one, plays defensively from the crease. He's playing it really late, is Ben Stokes. I mean, he's wherever possible, he's playing it off the pitch, and he's playing deep in his crease. Obviously, that runs a risk of LBW, particularly with Akshar Patel, with that change of pace, that quicker one. Reverse sweep, beautifully played, absolutely magnificent example, not only of the execution of the shot, but the choice of it, because the field is set for the orthodox sweep, and he's played it beautifully to bring up his half century. That is a fabulous innings, the beginnings of an innings of great importance for Ben Stokes and for England. That's his 24th 50 to go with his 10 hundreds, and he's come from 114 balls, and what a shot to bring it up with.
Absolutely, man. It's absolutely fantastic shot. Coming round the wicket. We've seen him gain a bit of bounce, so it can be a dangerous shot, but he got right and covered it, smothered it actually, and he down from up to down, all the way along the ground, no fielder there, and a fantastic boundary for Ben Stokes to bring up a magnificent 50 of just 114 deliveries, and that's quite quick actually. He's been watchful. It's not been easy conditions. The ball bouncing. He's been watchful, getting his eye in. He needs some runs in this match, and it's good for the team. 114 for 4, Manners.
36 of those 51 runs have come in boundaries. That was his 6th 4 and 2 6s as well. So it shows that there have been long periods, or lengthy-ish periods of watchful, studious defence. Here is Washington Sundar again around the wicket to Ollie Pope, pushes it out to Rohit Sharma at leg slip, and there's no run. 114 for 4. I think I've just about overstayed my welcome, so I'll do one more ball, and then Andrew McKenna will take over for the next 20 minutes. Ben Stokes 51. Ollie Pope really has worked hard for his 11 runs, and he's not quite settled yet. Here is Sundar again, and blocked defensively out in the offside. Ball from Goffey, and then it'll be Macca.
Yeah, this is where Ben Stokes has got to cash in now. He's got himself to 50. The ball is 40 odd overs old. It's a nice time to bat. Good conditions. First day of a test match. He's got to cash in now, Ben Stokes.
He's watching Sundar go into bowl to Ollie Pope. Ollie Pope stays offside of the ball, tries to turn it into the onside. Rishabh Pant heading down the leg side, thought he was going to be in business with a stump in then, but Ollie Pope pushes it out to Virat Kohli, and there is no run. 8 o'clock this Thursday morning UK time, 1:30 in the afternoon in Ahmedabad. Heat of the day baking down, and England looking to bat long. Ollie Pope, as Sundar is around the wicket. Pope pushes back down the pitch, no run.
But better there from Ollie Pope. I think the last test he got stuck on the crease in both innings. Really, really made an effort there to get outside his crease and play a solid, and I mean solid, forward defence. That's what we want to see from Ollie Pope.
Slip, leg slip and short leg around the bat as Pope comes down the pitch, meets it on the half volley and punches nicely to Ishant, who's at a deep mid-on, so there's a very comfortable single. 115 for 4 are England. Some cricket news if you are just joining us this morning. Some incredible action in the West Indies game earlier on today against Sri Lanka in a T20 game. Akila Dhananjaya took a hat-trick for Sri Lanka, and then in the next over he sent down, Kieron Pollard hit him for 6 sixes. So there's one end of the spectrum to the other in a matter of game. Only T20 cricket can do that, can't it?
Well,
remarkable stuff.
Changing the momentum.
Very much so. Very much so.
Well, that's what it's part of. He came in and counted.
Sundar in, down the leg side. Now, Rishabh Pant didn't take that cleanly. It went rolling out on the leg side. Ollie Pope is saying, no, we're not going to take a single. End of the over, 115 for 4. And in the other news, in the last sort of half an hour, 40 minutes or so, the confirmation that they've had to postpone for the time being the PSL, the Pakistan Super League, the T20 competition, after more positive COVID tests. And so they've had to knock it on the head for the time being.
What do you mean for the time being now? What, for a week or 2 weeks?
That's what I've not seen.
It's indefinitely at this point.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to come back again later in the year.
Wow. It's a concern, isn't it, as well, with the IPL just round the corner? Because now if they were to go to Dubai and have it, which they've done in previous, it's on the red list. So getting people from England to go over there would have to come back and stay in a government hotel for 14 days. It's not looking good.
No, I mean, international sport in general, it's just so fraught at the moment, isn't it?
Akshar in to start a new over. His left arm around. Ollie Pope is sweeping around to a backward square leg, and they take a single. Pope goes to 13, England 116 for 4.
I know a couple of players who were supposed to play in that T10 league, which was in the UAE, and never got out of the airport, just because their countries kept having more and more positives. Even though that they weren't getting positives themselves, they would just eventually ship back.
Well, KP, I mean, he was working with us last week, wasn't he? He said 5 COVID tests.
Stokes is playing this one on the onside from Akshar Patel, no run.
From leaving his house in London to arriving at the hotel. He had 5 between here and getting to the hotel.
And those are full PCR tests, not the lateral flow ones. Stokes is turning this one to square leg, and there's no run on this occasion. So, yeah, there's going to be a problem, because there will have been players who would have been going from PSL to IPL who now will have to isolate. Tom Banton announced that he's had a positive. Akshar Patel goes in. Stokes plays the reverse. There is a man deep, effectively at backward point for the left-handed shot, becomes backward square leg for the right-handed, and will do the fielding. 2's taken. Stokes goes to 53, 118 for 4.
Good shot again from Ben Stokes, but just go back to that IPL, Jared. I mean, it's going to be interesting what they do, because they're talking about it being isolated in a few different parts of India. But I think there's going to be a lot of pullouts of players from countries around the world who are just not willing at this time to travel.
Well, one of the ideas they came up with was using 4 grounds in and around Mumbai, wasn't it? And so to take the flying aspect out of it and just have everyone stationed there. As Akshar bowls left arm over to Stokes, he carves to backward points and will take a single. Sundar will do the fielding. But I suppose the problem there is you've got people in Chennai or wherever go, hang on a minute, why are you getting all of the games? Just because of that. But I suppose there'll be the financial clout that says, well, because we can.
Yeah, I think the NBA probably had the most successful big sporting event without any positives.
Akshar is in, left arm around. Ollie Pope pushes back down the pitch, no run.
And they essentially just created a bubble. They went and played in Disney and played their games there. And that's kind of the only way to do it. The minute you have air travel, I think, there's a chance that someone's going to pick it up. And, they had a biosecure bubble in the PSL, but there were still people travelling around, and it's obviously caused a problem. And we know once it gets in, that's kind of it, isn't it?
Yeah, rewind to South Africa before Christmas. It's TalkSport 2. It is the 4th Test match. Don't forget, of course, that England trail in this series 2-1 at the moment. England have to win this test, therefore, to level the series. That would also mean that Australia would go to the World Test Championship final against New Zealand. If India avoid defeat, then they will be in that. And, of course, once we're done and dusted for this Test match, we've then got a few days off before we start the white ball games. T20s and one-day internationals, and, of course, every ball of those series exclusively live here on TalkSport 2 as well. Washington Sundar to start a new over. Deep in his creases, Stokes turns to the onside. Akshar Patel will have to go from mid-on to, well, virtually all the way around to square leg to field that one, and they will take a single.
One of the better COVID breaches, I don't know if you follow the NFL, Macca, but when the Denver Broncos have 4 quarterbacks on their staff and they all got because whether it was Track or Tracy, a couple of them I think actually had it. So they had to go into a game with no quarterback, which is one of my favourite.
They forced them to play the game and said, well, just stick anyone there, which is a remarkable thing. Sundar in around the wicket to Pope, who just placed a point, and there is no run. Yeah, they said, I'm sorry, you can't postpone, you can't delay, you're just going to have to stick a positional player in there if you have to.
Yeah, they had a wide receiver, I think. Ollie's just telling me, the producer. I mean, it's incredible. You've seen that with some of the NBA games as well. There's one NBA game where they had 7 fit players.
Sundar is in. Pope using his feet to get to the pitch of that. Just punches to mid-off. Axel will field. Single taken. 121 for 4 now.
And one of those wasn't ready to come back from injury, so he just sat on the bench, and the other 6 players just had to rotate through the whole game. I think the PSL, to be fair to them, are doing the right thing in pulling it, because it does ruin the sport at a certain point.
Well, I mean, Jurgen Klopp's made the point, Goffey, about he might not release some of the Liverpool players for international duty, because he said as soon as you start crossing boundaries and going into
it was quarantining and coming back. There was that rule they were going to bring in where they would have to quarantine for 5 days, is it, or 7 days?
So as soon as you get into that, then you've got problems. Sundar in around the wicket, takes Stokes on the pad. Stokes' head goes down, he knows what's coming next. Nitin Menon's into the game, raising his finger for LBW. Well, Stokes is now, I think Ollie Pope said, well, hang on a minute, let's have a chat about this one. Stokes knows in his heart of hearts, he's not even really listening. He's wandering off, having the conversation over his shoulder. Stokes walks off, furious with himself. LBW for 55, England 121 for 5.
Yeah, I always think though, when you're going to be clever there and thinking Ben Stokes, one of the better players England have got, would it have been that bad a thing to review it? I mean, when you've got your best player at the crease, but he's totally done, played the wrong line. Sundar coming round the wicket's gone on with the arm, and it looks absolutely plumb. But as I said, if you're going to waste one, I'd rather it be wasted on Ben Stokes than wasting it on somebody like Jimmy Anderson coming in at number 11 or Jack Leach at 10. But a terrific knock from Ben Stokes. He's played really, really well there. A lack of concentration, as I said, but that's the class of these Indian spinners. You've got Washington Sundar, who was hardly used in the last Test match. Came on, I think I picked up 1 wicket late on. But the drift, they came wide of the crease, round the wicket, just went on with the arm and caught Ben Stokes on the bat pad. 121 for 5. England are in serious, serious trouble here on day 1 on TalkSport 2, and it brings our 7th batsman to the crease.
Dan Lawrence into the team today, having played the first and the second test. 0-18 in the first test in Chennai, 9-26 in the second test, then left out here in Ahmedabad for the third test match, back into the side, and he's back in. And of course, Goffey, Dan Lawrence is normally a top order player. I wonder if he's ever batted at 7 before.
I think he would have batted at 6
often.
when he first went into the Essex side. I think he batted at 6. I would have said, but 7, probably not. He's gone in at 3 when he did the Lions, so he got a lot of runs, didn't he, with the Lions? I think batting at 3. A terrific player. We know he likes to use his feet to the off spinner and hit to the leg side. So it'll be interesting here. Again, been dropped, brought back into the side.
And he's facing Sundar, who's over the wicket, turns into the leg side, and Shubman Gill's almost taken a brilliant catch at short leg. Well, they've got 2 on the leg side close in. Shubman Gill, that was the one for him. There's smiles around, but Dan Lawrence, first ball, got it high up on the bat, and it's just landed short of Shubman Gill. However, he did seem to be quite a long way up. If he was further down, he might have got his fingers underneath that one. It's my gut reaction, having seen that first look. Sundar is in. Lawrence is playing that to mid-on. It's taken the outside portion of the bat, and that's going to mid-off.
A nervous start. Listen, it's going to be from Dan Lawrence. He's come back into the side after losing his place to Johnny Bairstow after those first couple of Test matches. But he's going to come in here in a difficult situation because, again, it's a totally different pitch that he's been used to. There's a bit of bounce there for the spinner and the seamer. You first come to the crease, you've got to get used to it. It can be very difficult. And it's a massive partnership, this now. We've got Ben Foakes coming in next. Ollie Pope has not yet got going. He's 14 of 46 deliveries. And at 121 for 5, we're in no man's land.
I think he did just get his fingers on that, but he came up maybe a little bit early at short leg and couldn't get back down because it was coming at pace. Dan Lawrence, this is the first time he's ever batted at number 7 or below.
He's watching Ollie Pope at the far end. Akshar Patel outside off stump, and it's allowed through to Rishabh Pant, no run.
In first-class cricket, I should say.
Fairly dues. Right,
Batted it 6-5 times, so he doesn't have a lot of experience around that part of the order.
No. Akshar is going to bowl to Pope. Left arm around, slip and silly points in place. Pope is forward, pushing into the offside. Dan Lawrence offers to come if he wanted to, but he doesn't want to, Ollie Pope, and he will stay put. Goffey's moved out. Steve Harmison and Gareth Batty have moved into the TalkSport 2 commentary positions. And get their thoughts after this ball from Akshar Patel. In he goes, left arm round. Ollie Pope again playing out on the offside. No run. Gareth Batty, this is going to be a big 15-20 minutes for England.
Yeah, they just need to soak up some pressure now. Trust their defence. Try and rotate the strike when they can. Be positive in the foot movement, which we're seeing. Both trying to be positive, but don't be too reckless.
Akshar is in. Pope deep in the crease on that occasion, pushing back, no run.
And just take the sting out of a buzzy, buoyant Indian team now. They're busy around the bat. You're hearing lots of Pant, you're hearing short leg speaking. It's just quell all that down and it will get easier.
Ollie Pope gets one that bounces a little bit, plays it outside half of the bat, just wide of silly point on that occasion. And there is no run. We were just talking about the PSL, by the way. Hearing there's a press conference in Pakistan about 3 o'clock their time. So about an hour and a bit's sort of time. There's some suggestion they might try and finish off the PSL in May. Ollie Pope comes down the pitch, meets it on the half volley, pushes out on the offside, and there is no run. But apparently no international players in May, if that were to happen in the PSL. We'll find out the details as the day progresses, and of course we'll let you know as indeed there is any news. Here on TalkSport 2, it's England batting against India in the 4th test, the 121 for 5 after 48 overs. Ben Stokes, the top scorer so far, making 51. He was the 5th man out though, and it's Ollie Pope and Dan Lawrence at the crease at the moment.
Bats, you've seen Ollie Pope develop and the young man turn into an international player. What sort of mindset and where will he be at this minute in time?
Sundar is in, playing from deep in his creases. Lawrence pushing to mid-on, and there's no run.
I'm loath to answer because the last time I said anything nice about Ollie, he got out about 3 balls later, and I've been cussing myself ever since.
Dan Lawrence just steps out of the crease for a moment. Now he's back in, waiting for Sundar. Right arm around the wicket, swings it big into the leg side. Rohit Sharma takes it at leg slip, and there's a celebration between him and Virat Kohli, but I think it was I told you I'd be in business here at leg slip, rather than how's that umpire, because that was pad all the way, unless in his follow through Dan Lawrence has sort of followed it around.
No, I don't think he's got anything on it, but it's a good shot for Dan Lawrence. It's pitching outside leg stump. It's a free hit.
Lawrence takes this one from outside of off stump and punches it into the onside. There's no run.
And the big thing with it is, Steve, the intent he showed. The close infielders will know that he's coming at me a little bit. He's going to whack a few, and you can't just stay solid in your position, diving under the bat and that sort of thing. They'll just have one eye on him.
Sundar in around the wicket. Lawrence is pushing. The bowler can't field in his follow through, despite the pleas from Rishabh Pant for him to get down and do the fielding, and as a result Lawrence is off the mark with that single. 122 for 5.
But it's like what you said before, Bats, it's about having positive intent, positive mindset, gets you in a better position for defending the ball. For me, if you are looking to hit the ball, if you're looking to get at the ball, not being reckless but being, having a positive intent.
Sundar comes in, gives that one a little bit of air. Pope is actually coming down and turns it into a low full toss, which all he can do is dribble back to the bowler with no timing, and there's no run. Sundar just waits at the end of his mark. Now he comes in, and it's Pope. Came half a pace down, then stretched a long way forward, covers it up bat and pad close together. That's the end of the over. It's 122 for 5 here on TalkSport 2.
To answer your question, Steve, Popey, I think he will always He's always going to be a player that will err on positive. He won't be worried about coming down the wicket because he'll see that as a scoring option to not just score off the front foot, but then he might get one where he's got a bit of length where he can play off the back foot. He will try and rotate the strike. He will try and put something back on the bowlers. When he's playing at his best, he's not reckless with that, and he moves so well because he's not massively tall. Like say Crawley's a 6'2", 6'3", so he's more in the size range of a Kohli, where he's wanting to be quick on his feet. And I know he's been watching and admiring some of the players in this series and how good they are, and that's the one thing about him. He's always trying to learn and trying to add that to his game. And the little limited knowledge I know of Lawrence is very similar. They're both like sponges. They want to get better, and they both want to do it in a positive, proactive manner. So this potentially could be a really good, unique partnership for England, where you've got two youngsters, no preconceived ideas. They're just going to play what's in front of them.
Well, it's been a big conference between fielders and bowler before we start the new over, and it's going to be Lawrence to face Akshar, left arm around, and it's the outside half of the bat that's pushing it to point, and there's no run, and there's a slip and a gully and a silly point all in place now for Dan Lawrence, the right-hander. So they're feeling that he's trying to get leg side of the ball and pushing it into the offside, and therefore there might be an edge. Akshar goes in, Lawrence comes down the pitch, he's got enough of it. It wasn't that far away from mid-on, but he got enough of it for it to go away for 4, and England continue to use their feet to the spinners, which they didn't in the previous test. It's 126 for 5.
Yeah, good intent, and you can use your feet to the spinners because there's not as much sharp spin and sharp turn, and you know that just quietens the fielders around him, possibly gets mid-on and mid-off just that little bit deeper, because Lawrence does push at the ball, so you'll be looking to push it down the ground and potentially get a single.
Akshar around the wicket. It's driven through the covers on this occasion by Lawrence. He got down low, big stride out to that one, and he's used his wrist to drive it through. Back-to-back boundaries for Lawrence. He goes to 9, England 130 for 5.
Yeah, just over-pitched here from Akshar, and it's more the line rather than the fact that he's over-pitched. He's given Lawrence a little bit of width, and very cleverly and very skillfully, Lawrence keeps his body leg side of the ball and gets a flick of the wrist, almost hockey style, flicks it as an off-cover a cover drive, but opens the face and gets his boundary.
On this occasion, Akshar is shorter, wider, and it's an attempted cut by Lawrence, but he can't beat the fielder at points on this occasion, and it remains 130 for 5.
Yeah, Lawrence, he's a tall man, but actually at the point of contact, he is quite short. He does crouch down a little bit. He gets his knee into the ball. He bends his knee.
Lawrence is turning this on the onside. They've taken the silly point fielder out, so it's just the 2 slips around the bat at the moment. Lawrence turning this on the onside for no run.
He's probably the same height as Zach Crawley, but Zach Crawley stays high, he stays tall, doesn't bend into the shot.
Akshar around the wickets. It's taken Lawrence on the pad. That looked like it was going well down the leg side on that occasion. India are going to have a discussion. They only have 1 review left, having burned 2 earlier in the day, and Virat Kohli has very quickly waved that one off, and rightly so. They would have looked very foolish if they'd burnt their final review of the innings off using that one. It's 50 overs of the England innings gone, 130 for 5 here on TalkSport 2. Gareth Batty.
Yeah, nice contest here, this over Lawrence and Akshar. Lawrence probably just taking the edge over him. Big appeal the last ball, but Lawrence taking a calculated risk, running down the wicket but getting offside of the ball, getting him straight back over his head. Then he feeds off a full and wide one, gets a boundary, and Akshar finishes the over with one that just slides in and hits him on the pad, but it's just going down. It's a great contest going on here.
Washington Sundar for his 7th over will start around the wicket, and Ollie Pope is just turning it to short leg. There was actually a flick throw from Shubman Gill at the stumps that missed and seemed to be going out to an unguarded area. Batsman thought about taking an overthrow, but don't in the end. Pope with 14 to his name. Lawrence has 9. England 130 for 5. They won the toss and elected to bat. Sundar around the wicket. It's Pope dropping this into the offside, and there is no run. Gareth, I was mentioned earlier on this morning, there was an article recently by Greg Chappell talking about the previous test match, and he said, why don't English batsmen use their feet as opposed to sweeping all the time? As a spin bowler in that occasion, which would be more concerning to you? Is it the batsman using his feet as Pope turns this on the onside? It's fielded at short leg, no run. Would you prefer them to use their feet to you, or prefer them to be staying at home and sweeping?
I suppose the easiest answer to the question is you want them doing the one that they're not very good at. If they're good at running down the wicket, you keep doing it. If you're good at sweeping, keep doing it.
Sundar around the wicket. Pope a little half shuffle down to meet that one, pushes it back to the bowler, no run.
But it's the process that you go about both ways of doing it. So if you're running down the wicket to a left arm spinner, you need to get a little bit offside of the ball, so you take the outside edge out of the equation again. So you can defend it if you need, or you can still clip it over the top.
So it's just not a mad sprint. There's got to be a plan to it. Sundar in. Pope comes to meet it, pushes back to the bowler, no run.
There's also the surface as well. You know, if the ball's spinning big, you've got more chance when the sweep, because there's less if the ball's outside off stump. But, if it hits you in line with the off stump, you'd hope or you'd think it would miss the stumps if you missed it with your bat.
Pope is coming down the pitch and pushes back down the playing surface to the bowler to complete the over. 130 for 5 are England. We're 20 minutes away from tea on day one of this fourth Test match. Some more thoughts from Gareth Batty and Steve Harmison, and to take you to the interval will be Mark Nicholas.
I think that with the previous pitches that we've had, because you've got a lot of side spin going on, it's difficult to run down the wicket to leave your crease because you don't want to be stumped and so on and so forth. You've got to run the line of the ball and still have great skill near a contact. Whereas this one, where you're getting less side spin, it can be potentially easier to run down the wicket because you can run just the line of the ball and it's not spinning a foot, it's only spinning maybe 2 or 3 inches, so you should be able to cover it off. But the flip side of that is it might mean it's a little bit harder on this pitch because you can bowl a bit more stump to stump as a bowler and challenge the stumps if you're playing across the line, playing a sweep shot.
Well, you've sure got to play straight if you're Dan Lawrence. I think that is a very important aspect of his approach now. He has 10 from 13 balls as he hits that off the back foot out to the cover sweeper, and it brings Ollie Pope on to strike. 131 for 5 on a perfectly good pitch, actually, you should say. And he goes to sweep and misses, and the ball hits him in the chest. Such is the bounce. This surface has been excellent, even in bounce, and offered something to everybody. The surprise of the day perhaps has been England's selection, which seems to be an overreaction of the problems of the previous test, but of course they don't have a second all-rounder here in either Curran or Wokes, which might prove to have been a mistake, but anyway. Pope comes forward, dances down the pitch and defends on the front foot, as he's done quite a lot in this innings, using his feet to get nearer to the ball, and that's a very good tactic, I think, to Akshar Patel, given the lack of, or relative lack of side spin. Anyway, as Gareth was talking about, there has been a bit of side spin. Haven't seen a lot of Ashwin today, which is interesting in itself, and now Pope is skipping down again. Smallish fellow with quick feet, working that into the leg side. No run for hit, and it's a good thing that to get the feet going. Once you've got the rhythm right, you wait long enough and then you go. It's funny how you suddenly feel very confident about it. When you start, you feel nervous of it. And of course, he's made the opportunity to cut, which he does now by that footwork. Just a tad short by Akshar, not much in it, but the cut is a great stroke against the left arm spinner on a pitch like this. So he gets a couple there. He moves to 16 now.
Yeah, I think on this sort of surface where it's coming on nicely, it only needs to be a little variation in line, just a fraction outside of stump. If you're quick on your feet, that's enough width to get that cut away.
Yes, you've got to stay leg side of the ball too to be able to play it. Down he comes, and for the first time he shuts the face on the ball. He thought he'd got right to it, he hadn't, and he got lucky. It got a leading edge. If that had beaten him, the stumping chance would have been pretty simple. So far down the pitch was he. He gets the single though. Pope has 17 now as the ball rolls out to mid-off. Akshar's bowled plenty of overs so far today, 18 of them, and has 2 for 48. 2 for Mohammad Siraj, who bowled magnificently with the new ball, and when he came back again, bowled at pace and moved it around, 2 for 34. And Washington Sundar has the prized wicket of Ben Stokes, so he got him 55. LBW again, I'm afraid. Stokes has found off-spin bowled from round the wicket at him extremely difficult, and his footwork today was, well, almost non-existent. He played mainly from the crease, but of course he's got a great eye and he played very straight. and he made 55 nice runs. He began to dominate, but a little lapse cost him his wicket. Cost us all the excitement of watching him bat, which is frustrating for us as surely it was for him. Okay, it is Ashwin, only 8 overs so far, into the attack now. Bowling to Ollie Pope, and he gets down to drive, didn't quite time that. It was a full toss, and he only gets 1 for it as Sundar falls to his left to do the fielding. Annoying. Pope would have wanted 4 for that. So Pope will definitely, I think, look to play Ashwin as if he's a straight bowler. Forget the off-spinner, because that ball that's gone past his outside edge has caused him a lot of grief in this series, and I think he'll look to get nearer to him as he has to Akshar as well. Pope's got it all. We'll hear more from Gareth Batty in a minute, who spent a lot of time with Ollie Pope in these last few years, but he has got it all. I'm a great believer in Ollie Pope. Back goes Lawrence, defends nicely on the back foot. A yellow bat handle with some rubber, about an inch of rubber at the top. It's a sort of bit of a habit that some players have, that to let the rubber come over the top of the bat. And now he tries to push drive, but he only hits it into the ground, and Ashwin does the fielding off his own bowling. He's a slim young man here who's made many runs for Essex, is rated by Alistair Cook, is known to be a bit of an onside player, leg side Larry as they like to call him in the game. And now he goes back and defends a very full ball from Ashwin. He was done in the length really, but it didn't spin, thank heaven, and he played it out of the middle of the bat back down the pitch. Now he goes back and plays it very confidently off the back foot, and it's good fielding probably from Virat Kohli. It looked like Kohli's sort of energy, yep, at straightish mid-wicket. Kohli with a pair of shades on, a cap, and then another pair or two of shades above the peak of the cap. I don't know whether he's sheltering shades for other people as Lawrence comes down, knocks the ball back to the bowler, and there's no run. 135 for 5. Pope has 18 and Lawrence has 10. You know Ollie Pope very well, Gareth.
Yeah, and this is a nice little partnership up until that last over. England had got 12 runs in the previous 2, just a single off that one, but just being proactive, moving nicely. Pope wanting to use his feet now, and there's not huge amounts of side spin. And then when the ball gets outside his eye line and he can get his pads outside the line, he'll have a sweep. He'll try and keep putting it back on the bowlers so that they can't just settle in and bowl. And Lawrence, I think Lawrence is another young player. These two both very fine young players we have in England. I think they're both really proactive. They both study the game. They're both trying to evolve their game. I think in some ways this is almost a perfect situation for them to bat, where there's not a lot of external pressure on, because the real senior players haven't gone on and really kick-started, and it allows these two to formulate and play the way they want to play, which I think is quite exciting for them.
Ishant Sharma recalled to the attack. He's bowled 7 overs, none for 18. He swung it actually a lot in, mainly when he bowled earlier on. Here he is now. Pope goes back and across, beautifully lined up, and then comes forward to the pitched up ball and pushes it to mid-off. So everything's working for Pope. When you're batting, you search long and hard in your life as a batsman for rhythm, and you don't always find it, but when you do, boy, you want to hang tight to it.
Yeah, and he's just one of those guys, when he first comes in, sometimes he can look a bit frantic, but that's just because he wants to be busy. He wants to get his feet moving, as you say, Mark, and now he looks stable at the crease. He's moving with a static position as he strikes the ball, which is always a good sign that his head is still, and he's hitting the ball late. I'll probably put the kiss of death on him again here.
Shush, quiet, please. Ishant Sharma again. Pope cuts, but a sort of a withdrawn cut for which he gets a single out to the third man. There is a third man, don't often see one in international cricket these days, but there is one, so he gets a single, and England move to 136 for 5, and then there's a splendid shot of the stadium, which is quite dramatic with its multicoloured seating, and then behind it the river gives it a splendid feel of place. Still a lot of work to be done in all the sort of car parking areas and things, but it looks amazing. I mean, a 110,000 seater for a cricket ground in this day and age. It tells you about India's love of the great game. Doesn't really explain why there's hardly anybody in the ground today. There's an echoey sound to the spectators indeed. Here's Ishant Sharma again. It's left alone outside off stump by Ollie, by Lawrence. It doesn't do anything, that ball, actually. Ishant's really trying to get it to swing in. You can see by the way he's holding it and dropping his left shoulder in his action that he's trying to get that thing to go. Maybe it's now he's searching for reverses. Tell me, Steve.
Yeah, I think that's what he's looking for. I was just going to say, I think this is the change that's come. There's not much spin. There's a little bit of spin, but I just wonder if the Indian captain is looking at this and thinking, right, can we get 2 or 3 overs out of Ishant? See if we can get the ball cross seam, see if we can scuffle that up that little bit more, and see if we can get some lateral movement with a reverse swing. And if we can, then we might have a go at Siraj as well.
Well, it isn't. It's going gun barrel straight, and frankly, Virat Kohli will be, well, beyond delighted, I think, with the scoreboard. Zach Crawley caught Mohammad Siraj bowled Patel for 9. Little dance down the pitch that he got completely wrong. Dom Sibley bowled by Patel for 2. Johnny Bairstow LBW Siraj 28. Joe Root LBW Siraj 5, and Stokes LBW Sundar 55. 3 LBWs there. You'd have to call. I think you'd have to. I hate saying this word, but you'd have to call Sibley and Crawley's dismissal soft, I think.
Absolutely,
I
couldn't agree more.
And now that's a straighter ball, and Lawrence is nicely forward, and we see the full face of his bat. No sign of a leg side Harry there.
I would say a little bit of concentration and a little bit of pressure, Mark. You could see by Crawley, there was a couple of times just before his dismissal, he was coming down the wicket and you could hear the fielders just elevating that little bit of noise, that little bit more. And the same with Sibley. You could see that they were just working on the angle of getting him outside off stump to get that one to come between bat and pad. And it's test match cricket. It's something that these two guys have got to learn very quickly, because if they don't, then they'll soon find themselves out the side.
Pope 19, Lawrence 10. Lovely, beautiful, the emerald green outfield. As we wait for a poor chap's gone to help with the side screen covering, and he's tripped and fallen, much to people's amusement. It's the sort of thing that everybody finds funny except you, the chap who's gone to do the work and got a bit unlucky. Ishant Sharma again, left alone outside off stump by Lawrence. A shimmy from Lawrence, a sort of flamingo look as his back leg came up in the air as he left that ball alone. It's the end of the over. 136 for 5 from 54 overs. Remember, England have had this run of consecutive innings not making 200. So they're very keen to do something about that. And it needs these two and then the next two, Ben Foakes and Dom Best, to work really hard. I mean, sometimes there's no easy way out of the situation. You've just got to concentrate so hard that you don't make the mistake. If a great ball gets you, so be it. But on this pitch, you'd say you'd be unlucky if one pitch leg and hit off. So you've got to make the game work for yourself.
Absolutely, and I think that's what we've been saying all along, and it comes down to the concentration factor. There's not much demon in this pitch, but England are 136 for 5.
That's they asked, but I think it's spinning too much. So Ollie Pope's played for the straight ball from Ashwin, which is fair enough. It has spun and hit his pad, and I think it's missing leg stump. So there we give some credit to the batsman. In fact, India are not going to review it, so the umpire's decision is as it was at the moment of the appeal, not out. Ollie Pope relieved, I'm sure. Definitely playing for the ball to go straight on. Down the pitch he comes to get nearer to it. Lovely footwork. The ultimate challenge really for a young player. Ashwin and Akshar Patel in India. If he can make something of this innings, it'll do him so much good for the future of his own career and for the team in the match. And now he goes very low to sweep, gets down and sweeps it on probably length as much as line and gets a single for it, out to deep backward square leg.
I think this was relatively close. Bats, you thought it was closer than what it was. I just looked at Rohit Sharma at leg slip, and he was trying to say it's high, and I didn't see this bouncing as much as that, mind.
Yeah, I know. We got the beauty of the replay, and it's showing that it's spun like a top. It's gone best part of 2 foot. It didn't look like that to the naked eye, But the bounce, Sharma was right, wasn't he?
It's a forward defensive stroke this time from Lawrence to a full ball. There's no run. The pitch has been bouncy all day. The carry through to the keeper for the Seamers has been very good, even with this older ball. There's no grumbles about this pitch. We'll keep saying it because there were a lot of grumbles about the last one. A slip, a leg slip, a silly point. Sorry, short leg, not a silly point. Forward goes Lawrence. He's got a nice way of playing that on drive. Definitely he's more comfortable as a batsman with the leg side, and he gets a single out to long on. Everything he does on the leg side seems natural, and everything on the offside is something you know that he's having to really force to work on. Ashwin again, down comes Pope and drives to extra cover. Gets a single for it as extra cover has to move to his left to do the fielding. 21 to Pope and 11 to Lawrence. 55 overs of interesting cricket. India have had much the best of it because England haven't batted very well. Some mistakes have been made. A couple of LBW decisions. A very tight one against Johnny Bairstow. Felt for him a little bit. Ball trimming the bails. It was given out on review. No, sorry, it was given out and he reviewed it and it stayed as out. And you know, that's the rub of the game, isn't it? I'm afraid you know you have no influence over it, though it does tend to be the case that when you're playing well you get things go your way.
Yeah, and in the last Test match it was similar, Mark, wasn't it? There was a couple in that last Test match which clipped the top of off stump, one clipped the top of off stump, huge one against Joe Root, clipped the top of, I think, leg stump. And the umpire on the field has given the English batsman out, and it stayed on the field. So they had the little elements of luck you want, especially when you're in a little bit of a dark patch. You get the element of luck to just kick on a little bit.
Ishant Sharma, down the leg side it goes. A really grotty ball, one of the few bowled today. India have been very tidy, and Rishabh Pant understandably couldn't do much about that. He parried it though, so it's only a single bye rather than the 4 that it might have been. As I turn to my left and look out over London on a really grim rainy day, chilly, damp, exactly as people perceive London to be, particularly those who don't like it much. The Thames River is operational. There are not many working boats, I have to say. The water's flowing quite quickly. I can see sites built by great architects of the past, such as Wren and Hawksmoor, and modern buildings too. We're right in the heart of London here, looking across to the city, the financial district, as Ishant Sharma comes in again. Bowls a full-length ball that is almost Yorker, but not quite, beyond half volley, you'd say, and it's clipped to mid-wicket, but without timing by Lawrence, right off the bottom of his bat. Got strong grip. He's got strong top-handed grip, which tends to be the case with leg-sided players.
Just a hint of reverse swing there, I think, Mark. It looked like the shiny side was on the inside, and it just kept him on the outside edge. Not a huge amount, but from a bowling point of view, you're saying
trying,
it's just something.
Isn't he? He's trying. He's opening his shoulder, his left shoulder. He's throwing his left shoulder out, and he's just trying to just push that in towards, Lawrence's off stump.
Great thing for India is they've still got control as Lawrence goes back and defends. The worry when you've got Stokes at the crease is that he could break away from you. But I think the responsibility hovering over him through that innings, the determination to occupy the crease, bat time, probably cost him some scoring opportunities. And India bowled really, as I said a moment ago, tidily. Gave nothing away, did a little bit with the ball and niggled England with that a bit, and England didn't have the confidence to do much about it. I think that's the sort of story of the day. The score's 140 for 5 if you're just turning on. Nothing wrong with the pitch. The 5 wickets have fallen to either good bowling or ordinary batting, I think is perhaps the fairest way to describe it. Here's Ishant Sharma again, and again very full, and again dug out and clipped to short mid-wicket by Dan Lawrence, the young Essex batsman who's making his start to a Test match career in the subcontinent, and the conditions that test anybody, not just they test your mind, I think, more than almost anything else. Yes, I think you do get exposed technically if you're not up to it, but boy, if you're not up to it mentally, you've got absolutely no chance. So it's interesting to see them all in action. Anyway, Lawrence has 11, Pope has 21 on a fabulous day in Ahmedabad. Very warm, apparently very, very warm, unlike London. Very different colours too. All the greens and oranges and reds as Lawrence pushes that off the back foot to mid-on, who is up, of course, for the seamer, so there's no run. Yeah, all the different colours. You look at the television screen, you can imagine yourself being in India. You can almost smell the curry and the cordite, and then you look out over London, and really, it's just grey. That was a red bus.
You can smell the curry from our breakfast, Mark.
I was going to say the breakfast room.
Not anymore, though. Hasn't it been cleared? We had a curry for breakfast, everybody. How about that? We had a curry delivered here at 5:30, and we ate it at 6 o'clock. Never eaten a curry at 6 o'clock in the morning sober. Actually, I probably have. Early breakfast in India. Lovely straight drive. Glorious shot by Dan Lawrence. You won't see better. He almost exaggerated the holding of the straight bat to show us just how good it was.
Yeah, I think there's Ishant Sharma's looking to push this. He's trying to get it reverse. He's just gone in middling leg, and what a shot this is. This is a shot that Kevin Peterson spoke about Zach Crawley in the last Test match, saying that he'll not play too many better shots than he did on that first morning. But I don't think Dan Lawrence will play a better shot. Will have played a better shot in his career so far, Test career especially, than what he's just played off Ishant Sharma. Fantastic shot down the ground, beat the infielder, and lunch has arrived just at the right time for England, I think. Tea has arrived just at the right time for England. But what a beautiful shot that was by Dan Lawrence.
Yeah, you're getting confused with day-night matches
Day-night
there.
matches,
Perfectly
yeah.
reasonably, Harmy. A reminder that you've been listening to us on TalkSport and TalkSport 2. We're with the Times and the Sunday Times cricket team, writing with an edge, of course. And do try the Times group, free for 1 month at times.co.uk/cricket. Subscription auto-renews unless cancelled. Terms and conditions apply. The players leave the field of play for their break of 20 minutes. England are 144 for 5. Ollie Pope's unbeaten with 21. Dan Lawrence with 15. Crawley, Sibley, Bairstow, Roots. Stokes are the men out, so that's a big 5 to have got rid of. Folkes and Best, the good batsmen still to come, as well as Leach and Anderson. This partnership worth 23 was referred to you, Gareth Batty, as promising, and I think that's dead right.
Yeah, I'm going to slightly disagree with you, Army. I feel like this tea break has just come 15-20 minutes too early, because I feel like it was really starting to go nicely. They'd had a bowling change and brought Sharma on. They got Axar out of the attack from good batting, not from luck. They've gone forward and back and made him bowl just a fraction wider to then score off. They've knocked and taken singles whenever they could do. Let's not get too carried away. The partnership is still only sort of 23, but the way they've gone about it, and it's almost like the way they've gone about it is above their years in age, and they've been really precise in their movements, and I feel like it was just starting to blossom, and maybe an extra 15-20 minutes, so they'd have gone in maybe 40 at tea would have been a nice thing for these two young fellas.